Chapter 214. December 28th, the day they agreed to go see the sea. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the trio, plus the primary school student Xiaolian, took an old tram and left the basin where the village was located. When they arrived at the nearest town, they changed to a bus that would take them to the beach. The bus drove under the blue sky with no clouds for thousands of miles. Arche, Arche, a big car just passed by. Xiaolian pulled Toru Watanabe's sleeve. Where? Over there. Ah, I can't see it anymore, Xiaolian. You should have reminded me earlier. It's okay, there will definitely be more in a while. We will call Arche. Then I'll leave it to you. Okay. Xiaolian nodded firmly, like a police officer who received an undercover mission. She let go of Toru Watanabe's hand and once again leaned against the bus window. Behind them, Miki Kujo looked at the two of them as if they were fools. Watanabe-san, have you ever considered letting Xiaolian go to Tokyo to study? Rin Kiyono, who was also sitting behind the two of them, asked. Toru Watanabe looked at his sister next to him. She didn't hear Rin Kiyono's words and stared out of the window attentively. Her small body was carrying yesterday's oversized kettle, which was filled with hot water that her mother helped her fill. Her parents won't go to Tokyo. I'm only in my first year of high school, and they don't trust me. I plan to bring Xiaolian to Tokyo in 2 years, when I go to university and Xiaolian is in her 4th year. Toru Watanabe said. You can go to Shanghua Girls' School, Rin Kiyono suggested. Toru Watanabe only studied Tokyo's high schools for a while when he was studying, and it was one of the few that had the highest deviation, not to mention an elementary school that had nothing to do with him. What about that school? He asked. Rin Kiyono didn't talk about the educational philosophy, didn't introduce the school's history, and didn't talk about how advanced the facilities were. She only lightly said, Kuju-san and I went to primary school in Shanghua. So it's like that. Toru Watanabe could imagine the lecture hall of this school. It must be very spacious, and it must be made of wood. It must be of a very high class. By the way, he thought of something, will Xiaolian be bullied when she goes in? Before Rin Kiyono could say anything, Miki Kujo sneered and said, Your sister is my sister. Who dares to bully my sister? If he dares to touch it, I'll make sure his whole family can't stay in Tokyo. Arche, look. It's a taxi. This is the first time we've seen a taxi. Xiaolian and Miki Kujo spoke at the same time. Toru Watanabe didn't pay attention to Xiaolian's words. After the taxi drove past, he looked out of the window. Taxi? Was it Clover's taxi? Where is it? Xiaolian puffed up her cheeks in dissatisfaction and loudly said, Arche, you'll be eaten by wild boars if you stare blankly all day. I'm sorry. Xiaolian will definitely give me another chance, right? I don't want to be eaten by wild boars. I really don't know what to do with you. Xiaolian sighed like an adult. Next time, you must look immediately, understand? Yes, I will. Xiaolian continued to stare at the window and pay attention to every car that drove by. After a while, she didn't see any buses or taxis, but the sea appeared. Xiaolian opened her mouth wide and pressed her face against the window. Her sparkling eyes stared unblinkingly at the sea in the distance. This is the first time we've seen the sea. After a while, she said this. When summer comes, I'll take you to the beach in Okinawa to surf. Toru Watanabe said. Surf. Xiaolian looked at him in surprise. I've seen it on TV. Can I stand on the sea? Of course you can. Xiaolian is the strongest first-grade elementary school student in Japan. Xiaolian held her face and said with admiration, the strongest first-grade elementary school student in Japan is really amazing. Not only surfing, I'll take you to Disneyland, see castles, see Snow White, Winnie the Pooh, go drifting, and see smoke at night. I know. Xiaolian suddenly said loudly. HM? Toru Watanabe asked in confusion, what does Xiaolian know? Disneyland. Tokyo Disneyland is in Chiba Prefecture, just like the duckbill family only has duckbills. I don't understand the connection between the two, but you must never say that Disneyland is in Tokyo in front of the people of Chiba Prefecture, understand? Why? Because Chiba Prefecture hates Tokyo and wants to become Tokyo. Why? She asked twice, but her volume and tone didn't change. That's a good question. Toru Watanabe nodded approvingly. When you figure this out, you can become the strongest elementary school student, not just the first grade. Really? Xiaolian excitedly grabbed Toru Watanabe's clothes. The water bottle on her body shook as she lay down on the seat. Of course. It's fake. Rin Kiyono interrupted Toru Watanabe. Arasan, Kiyono-san. Toru Watanabe turned around and looked at the two young ladies who had been listening to him and Xiaolian. I'm trying to motivate Xiaolian to study. Rin Kiyono ignored him and said to Xiaolian, if you want to become the best elementary school student in Japan, you must study hard. You can't do it by stepping on your brother's butt. Really? Xiaolian was shocked as if it was the first time she heard this. Really? Rin Kiyono answered without hesitation. This girl, when she has children in the future, she will definitely tell her children that Santa Claus is fake. The bus stopped and an old woman got on. She looked at the four of them and sat in the front without interest. The old woman sat down and the driver wearing white gloves stepped on the gas pedal of the bus. Only by studying hard can you become the best first-grade elementary school student. After a pause, Rin Kiyono continued, Xiaolian, do you know the 4 major fisheries in the world? Xiaolian shook her head. I don't know. They are Japan's Hokkaido fishery, Britain's North Sea fishery, Canada's Newfoundland fishery, and Peru's Peru fishery. Rin Kiyono asked patiently, Xiaolian, do you remember? Japan's Hokkaido fishery, Britain's. Xiaolian stretched out her small hand and pressed a finger on each word. He repeated his words without pausing. Xiaolian, you are a little better than before. You have learned a little more and are closer to becoming the strongest elementary school student. Xiaolian's eyes lit up. Really? I leveled up? Of course, you didn't know the 4 major fisheries before, but now you know. Most elementary school students don't know this knowledge. I also feel that I have become stronger. My experience points have increased a lot. Xiaolian held her face with both hands and fell into narcissism. Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe. This is the right way to encourage. Lying and cheating seem to be educating the child, but in fact, it will lead the child astray. You're right. Rin Kiyono withdrew her gaze with satisfaction and said to the intoxicated Xiaolian, Xiaolian, do you know why I asked you about the 4 major fisheries? Why? Xiaolian asked. Because... Enough. Miki Kujo, who had her arms crossed, interrupted impatiently, we are here to see the sea, not to listen to your class. Do you have a problem with that? Rin Kiyono stopped being pleasant and said with a cold face. When it's time to study, study hard. Don't ruin my mood when I'm playing. Miki Kujo also had a cold face. After that, she asked Xiaolian, Xiaolian, are you serious when you study? Serious. Xiaolian was not afraid, or perhaps she was not at the age to care about Miki Kujo's cold face. If you study hard, shouldn't you relax when you play? Yes. Rin Kiyono was not happy and said with dissatisfaction, of course you have to study hard, but you can't slack off when you play. It's like reading a book to relax. You can't forget everything after reading it. Then you must have a hard life. Miki Kujo sneered. This is also the reason why my grades are better than yours. Rin Kiyono's tone was indifferent. It's not much better, and it's when I'm busy with work. On the contrary, you can't completely relax even if you're ahead by a few points. Who's better and who's worse? Miki Kujo looked at Xiaolian. Tell me. Xiaolian held her chin with her hand and assumed a thinking posture. From Toru Watanabe's point of view, Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo's argument was not so much about learning methods as it was about the two mothers' educational philosophies. How could a first grader understand such things? That said, he never expected Miki Kujo to advocate the educational philosophy of learning when you should, and playing when you should. On the other hand, Rin Kiyono seemed like a strict mother. Toru Watanabe could even imagine her chattering endlessly to her children in the future. However, Rin Kiyono chattered endlessly. With her clear voice, gentle sarcasm, and cute appearance, it should be fine even if she was scolded, right? Wait a minute, that was what he was thinking. If it were Qingyi Rin's child, he definitely wouldn't care about whether his mother's voice was pleasant or whether she was pretty. All he cared about was whether she was naggy or not and whether she scolded him. Thinking about it this way, Rin Kiyono's children were really pitiful. As Tetsumasa Watanabe thought so, Rin Kiyono's cold gaze shot towards him. So scary. Why was she always able to know what he was thinking? This wasn't fun at all. If even he thought so, then how miserable would Rin Kiyono's children in the future be? Pitiful, too pitiful. This kind of problem is too difficult for children. Toru Watanabe avoided Rin Kiyono's gaze. "Ah-che, which sister should I listen to?" Xiaolian asked. The two beautiful girls looked at him. Toru Watanabe regretted bringing Xiaolian to see the sea. He never thought that this would also make him fall into the Asura's trap. I think, Toru Watanabe carefully chose his words, there's no such thing as absolute right in this world. What you said is very reasonable. Choose one of the two, Miki Kujo said coldly. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono. She didn't seem to have any intention of helping and was waiting for his answer. Toru Watanabe looked at Xiaolian. She didn't know that her brother needed help and was waiting for his answer. Just a moment ago, he was sympathizing with Rin Kiyono's children, but now he was the one who was pitiful? I think Miki is right. Although he felt that Miki Kujo was right, Toru Watanabe himself was following Rin Kiyono's learning method. But this was an educational concept for children, so it didn't matter if it was a bit more relaxed. It seems that I lost today. Rin Kiyono sighed. Today's loss meant that yesterday's "can't I let Tetsumasa Watanabe sit down" was the winner? No one knew what she meant. Toru Watanabe himself didn't know whether he would sit properly or not. But this did not prevent Miki Kujo from staring at him, which was enough to freeze the warm current in Japan. "Sister Rin," Xiaolian said, "I want to know why you asked me about the 4 major fisheries." Rin Kiyono smiled softly. "Xiaolian, do you still remember what the 4 major fisheries are?" Although it hasn't been long, Xiaolian only listened to it once. This time when she repeated it, she stumbled and forgot about the British fisheries. The British are the North Sea fisheries. Don't be discouraged. Knowledge needs to be remembered repeatedly. Xiaolian can remember 3 after listening to it once. Many people can't remember even 1 after reading it once. Xiaolian nodded with some disappointment. She felt that it was harder than defeating her brother and stepping on his corpse. Try harder next time. After comforting her, Rin Kiyono was ready to explain why she mentioned the 4 major fisheries, but after slightly opening her mouth, she changed her mind. She smiled and looked at Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo. "Do you two want to guess? Isn't Iwate Prefecture also at the intersection of the cold current and the warm current in Japan? This is the question that you worked hard to come up with when you were relaxed?" Miki Kujo looked disdainful. Rin Kiyono brushed her long hair on her shoulder. This was the prelude to quarrel. "Ah, so that's how it is." Toru Watanabe said, as expected of Miki, "I didn't expect it at all. It seems that I, the number 1 in the country, only know how to take exams." Lies. This is not a lie, this is called livening up the atmosphere. Livening up the atmosphere? You're quite good at talking, isn't it just flattery? Thank you Rin Kiyono for not swearing. Compared to flattery, flattery is much better. Ah-che, what's the cold current and the warm current in Japan? Among the 4 major fishing grounds, Hokkaido Fishing Ground was formed because of the cold current and the warm current in Japan. Why? That's because of the difference in the density of the seawater. Toru Watanabe explained the reason why the fishing grounds were formed. Ocean currents. So amazing, ah-che, so amazing. Xiaolian held her face with both of her eyes shining. It's not a big deal, everyone in high school knows. High school, so amazing. This has nothing to do with high school. In the following time, Xiaolian learned the reason why the other fishing grounds were formed. Finally, she asked Toru Watanabe what the ocean currents were. Why was it like this? The child's questions were endless, and Toru Watanabe answered them one by one. Suddenly, Xiaolian was disappointed and lowered her head in the seat. Are you carsick? Toru Watanabe worriedly observed her face. Xiaolian shook her head and didn't speak. What's wrong? She didn't seem to be uncomfortable, so Toru Watanabe softened his tone. After a moment of silence, Xiaolian said disappointedly, I don't remember a lot of what Ache said. It doesn't matter if you don't remember or forget. Toru Watanabe touched her head. Xiaolian, you can ask me at any time, and I can answer you at any time. Okay. Xiaolian still lowered her head, and her short legs, which couldn't reach the ground, swayed gently. Rin Kiyono looked at the two, and a warm smile appeared on her beautiful lips. Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe, said nothing, and looked out of the window. They were almost at the seaside. Chapter 215. Iwate Prefecture, Kitasanraku City, Little Sleeve Coast. On the coast, a row of fishing boats was quietly moored on the beach. Dried salmon was drying on the shore. A breakwater that extended into the sea. At the end of the breakwater stood a tall white lighthouse. Also, there was the blue sky and the sea. Xiaolian opened her mouth wide and stared foolishly at the scenery in front of her. Her eyes seemed to be spinning. For someone who had lived in the village since childhood and had only seen a few taxis, the largest concentration of water she had ever seen was the stream flowing through the village. Xiaolian, Toru Watanabe said. Xiaolian turned her head with a shocked expression still on her face. What you see now is the Pacific Ocean, which occupies half of the world's ocean area. To be precise, it's 49.8%. Only Rin Kiyono would say such a thing. Xiaolian looked at the sea and said its name in a childish voice, the Pacific Ocean. Then, she suddenly spread her legs, cupped her hands in front of her mouth, and shouted, Amazing, 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 the Pacific Ocean is amazing. After shouting, she turned her head again to look at Toru Watanabe and said in a calm and excited voice, Che, we like the Pacific Ocean. Very good. Toru Watanabe pointed to the white lighthouse that extended into the depths of the sea. Run over there and tell it loudly if you like it. Haha. Xiaolian nodded vigorously and ran along the long breakwater towards the Pacific Ocean. She shouted as she ran, Pacific Ocean, we like you. Pacific Ocean, we like you. The large kettle on her body swayed left and right, seemingly following Xiaolian as she ran. Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono smiled as they watched her running figure. Even Miki Kujo's expression softened. The three of them slowly walked to the end of the breakwater. Under the white lighthouse, Xiaolian bent over and panted as she supported her small knees. The bottom of the kettle slung over her shoulder touched the ground. Do you still like the Pacific Ocean? Toru Watanabe asked. Ha ha ha. Xiaolian took a few deep breaths, straightened her back, and wiped her forehead with her sleeve. The Pacific Ocean is so hot. Toru Watanabe couldn't help but laugh. He took the kettle from her body and poured her a cup of water. Xiaolian held the lid of the kettle with both hands and blew on it twice before gulping it down in one gulp. The breakwater looked beautiful from afar, but the sea breeze made one's face hurt. Let's go. What's there to see? Miki Kujo impatiently gathered her long hair that was blown by the wind. Although Rin Kiyono didn't say anything, her beautiful and cute little face was filled with the desire to leave. The two of them were indeed 9 o'clock beauties. Even if their long hair was messed up by the wind, they didn't look embarrassed at all. Instead, they were as beautiful as celebrities who took artistic photos and deliberately used a hairdryer to blow their hair up. Hold on a little longer. We'll leave after we take a picture. Toru Watanabe took out his phone and took a few steps away from the three of them. Come, lovely ladies, please come closer to each other. The two ladies didn't move. Xiaolian, stand in the middle and hold the two sisters' hands. Okay. Xiaolian held Rin Qiuno's hand with her left hand and Miki Kujo's with her right hand. Rin Qiuno held Xiaolian's hand in turn. Miki Kujo didn't shake off Xiaolian's hand and let her hold it. Very good. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Only Xiaolian followed Toru Watanabe's lead and shouted. Unfortunately, there was still no smile on the face of the first grader. It was too serious. The two ladies were also expressionless. Would the Pacific Ocean like such a trio? After taking the picture, they walked back. As they walked, Toru Watanabe sent the picture to Watanabe's family group. Then, he sent it to Kujo's mother and Qiuno's mother. How did you get my mother's friend list? Miki Kujo stared at his phone screen. I added it for Christmas. Even my mother has it. Rin Qiuno's face was cold. What do you usually talk about with my mother? The two ladies asked at the same time. They looked at each other and then looked away. Toru Watanabe survived. If there was only one person, he would have to explain it clearly. Che, come and see. Xiaolian squatted by the breakwater and shouted. Don't get too close. Be careful, Toru Watanabe reminded her. When the three of them arrived, they discovered that there were sea urchin farms on both sides of the breakwater. The water was so clear that they could see the bottom. They could see the sea urchins clinging to the rocks. Xiaolian, do you know what this is? Rin Qiuno asked gently as she twirled her long hair. I know. Xiaolian raised her hand with a serious face. Ryan classmate, please tell me. Ryan classmate. It was Xiaolian's first time being addressed with such honorifics. She was about to fall into intoxication again when she suddenly shook her head and answered loudly, It's a sea urchin. Correct. Rin Qiuno patted her little head encouragingly. Xiaolian looked at the sea urchins in the water and said to herself in a calm voice, Thinking about it, I haven't eaten a sea urchin yet. I don't know if I can get one. Toru Watanabe looked at the auntie who was handling the salmon on the beach and shouted, Excuse me, can I get a sea urchin? The auntie nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes. Toru Watanabe bent down and was about to start. Xiaolian cupped her face with both hands and stared at him expectantly. Are you going to use your hands directly? Miki Kujo frowned. The sea urchin's thorns are poisonous. Don't worry. It'll be fine as long as I'm careful. I'll only grab the ones on the edge. As Miki Kujo spoke, Rin Qiuno stretched out her hand and retracted it. The cold sea breeze didn't change her expression, but her heart was shaken. She almost subconsciously pinched the corner of his clothes like she did on Yuji Bridge. At this time, the auntie's voice came again. What's the matter? Toru Watanabe, who had rolled up his sleeves, looked over in confusion. At that time, the sea breeze was against them and they were far away, so they couldn't hear what the auntie was saying. The four of them listened carefully for a while. Relying on his extraordinary hearing, he was the first to hear what the auntie was saying. 600 for one. 600 for one. Is it expensive or cheap? Toru Watanabe asked the two beautiful girls. Rin Qiuno's slender white fingers supported her flawless chin and muttered, About the same price. Are you looking for a scolding? Miki Kujo hugged her elbows and said in a bad mood, You have to ask about 600 for one. Even if you have money, you can't lose out. Toru Watanabe said this, but it was just a casual remark. The poor exchanged their time for money, while the rich bought their time with money. During the bargaining time, if Miki Kujo went to work, she might be able to earn enough money to buy all the sea urchins in the entire fishery. Toru Watanabe stretched his hand into the sea, and the bone-chilling cold penetrated his skin. In this sea area, even if it was July, when the sea urchin fishing season, the water temperature was only 9 degrees, let alone today at the end of December. This was the first time Toru Watanabe felt cold after his physical strength reached 10 points. The coldest time was the first day he returned to Iwate Prefecture, when he went to deliver the newspaper before dawn, and the soles of his feet were slightly cold. He carefully scooped up a black sea urchin, and then used brute force to casually push it aside, revealing the sea urchin yellow inside. Xiaolian. Toru Watanabe squatted down. Be careful, don't touch the thorns, okay? Okay. Xiaolian's expression was dignified. She tentatively stretched out her finger and dug a little bit into her mouth. Okay? Okay. She seemed to like it a lot. Toru Watanabe dug out more than half of the sea urchin yellow and gave it to her. Holding the remaining half, he stood up. Do you want some? No need. Rin Kiyono immediately said. I heard that sea urchins are very fresh, and they're also good for people. Toru Watanabe said. Sea urchins can prevent cardiovascular diseases, strengthen the body, and nourish the kidney, but I'm not interested in animal gonads. As expected of Dora A, she knew everything. Nourish the kidney? Then you should try it, Miki. Toru Watanabe dug out a bit with his index finger and brought it to Miki Kujo's mouth, which was more alluring than the sea urchin. What do you mean? Miki Kujo's expression was cold. Nothing. Thinking about it carefully, the numbness in the legs wasn't something that could be cured by nourishing the kidney. The siblings divided the 600-pound sea urchin between themselves. The seaside in winter wasn't very interesting. After enjoying the sea breeze for a while, the four of them walked into a coffee shop. It was a mom-and-pop shop that had been in business for more than 40 years. The shop's lighting was yellowed, and there were many old newspapers on the walls, all of which were reports about the coast. In this retro atmosphere, exquisite conches and shells hung from the ceiling, and there were shark and dolphin dolls by the window. The four of them ordered coffee, pasta, egg sandwiches, and steak. According to the menu, the steak was made with the most famous Iwate Prefecture beef. Iwate Prefecture beef. Iwate Prefecture beef? Xiaolian muttered this word in confusion. Compared to Iwate Prefecture beef, it doesn't have a good-looking frost. The texture of Iwate Prefecture beef is wide open. Rin Kiyono was afraid that Xiaolian didn't know what wide open meant, so he thought for a moment and said, It's a big piece of fatty meat and a big piece of lean meat. He really carried out the education philosophy of learning at all times. Miki Kujo, who was tired of frost beef, nodded and said, The taste is okay. It's soft and chewy, and the fat is just right. I didn't expect to be able to eat this kind of beef in a place like this. She also carried out the education philosophy of having fun when it was time to play. As for Toru Watanabe, who hadn't thought about how to educate his child, he wiped the oil from Xiaolian's mouth and asked her, Do you want another piece? Okay. Xiaolian stood up and said loudly. Then, she shrank back and shook her head a little pitifully. I don't want it, it's too expensive. Don't worry, Toru Watanabe touched her head. The two sisters in front of you are the eldest daughters of Tokyo. It's not a problem for you to eat beef every day. Really? Of course. Xiaolian held her face with both hands and fell into an intoxicated worship. Tokyo is amazing. If it wasn't for the fact that a first-grade elementary school student was deliberately acting like this to show off her uniqueness, then this child's ability to grasp the main point was really bad to the point of despair. It has nothing to do with Tokyo. It's the two sisters' houses that are amazing. Toru Watanabe said patiently. Before Xiaolian could say anything, Miki Kujo said, Why did you say Kiyono classmate's house? Xiaolian is my sister. If she likes to eat steak, I can pay for it. It has nothing to do with her. Whose sister will Xiaolian be? It's not time to conclude yet, right, Kujo classmate? Rin Kiyono said faintly as she drank her coffee. Ah-che, Xiaolian raised her head and looked at her brother. Can't we be both Miki and Rin's sister at the same time? Of course you can. Miki Kujo and Rin Kiyono looked over at the same time. One's gaze was full of murderous intent, while the other's gaze carried the cold wind of the southern Alps. What I mean is, the world is vast and boundless. Xiaolian can be anyone's sister if she wants to. It's not what you think. Toru Watanabe explained. Miki Kujo looked at Rin Kiyono. At the same time, Rin Kiyono said, Lies. You actually have such thoughts. I really underestimated you, Toru Watanabe. Miki Kujo slowly pinched Toru Watanabe's ear with her fingers. Miki, Listen to me. What else do you have to say? Any man can't help but have such thoughts, right? It's like everyone wants to be rich or powerful, but the reality is different. You're quite good at finding excuses for yourself, Miki Kujo said with a sneer. She began to exert force. That's really not an excuse. Toru Watanabe had something to say. Didn't you say it yourself yesterday, Miki? Sometimes people can't control their own thoughts. The most important thing is their actions. You dare use my words as an excuse? I already said that it's not an excuse. Toru Watanabe felt wronged. Kiyono-san, help me. I don't think I have any obligation to help you, Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono said with a smile that didn't have a trace of a smile. Didn't you say that we're classmates and best friends? You still dare to talk to her in front of me? Miki Kujo's voice didn't have a trace of warmth. It hurts, it really hurts. I was wrong. I won't do it again. Tell me first, what if there's a next time? If there's a next time, I'll go along Hokkaido's Kamui Point, all the way to the Pacific Ocean's Mariana Trench. Why does it have to be Hokkaido's Kamui Point? I feel that it's pretty good here. What if I say here and you tell me to go immediately, but you're sad and regret it? Hokkaido is far from here, and even further from Tokyo. It's not that far, I can get a plane to send you there. It's very far, this distance is enough for us to quarrel and reconcile for a lifetime. You want to quarrel with me for a lifetime? Let's talk about it later, for a lifetime, that's for sure. Miki Kujo sneered. Flowery words. Xiaolian looked like she had pressed the pause button on an animation, staring at Toru Watanabe who was being scolded for a long time. Then, she used a knife and fork to put a piece of Wagyu steak into her mouth. After dealing with Toru Watanabe, Miki Kujo withdrew her hand and continued to eat the steak. You don't have to say thank you to me, Rin Kiyono said. Sometimes I have the impulse to beat Watanabe-san up, but my outstanding self-cultivation doesn't allow me to do so. Thank you? What am I thanking you for? Also, are you saying that your self-cultivation is better than mine? Miki Kujo sneered. After being blown by the sea breeze, Kujo-san's memory has deteriorated? Just now, I helped you identify a lie. Shouldn't you thank me? Rin Kiyono said with a smile. And self-cultivation, isn't it obvious at a glance? You took the initiative to ask others to thank you? Is this your outstanding self-cultivation? Before I told a lie, who looked at me first? Before I looked at you, who told a lie first? The two of them looked at each other without giving in. Xiaolian looked like she had pressed the pause button on an animation, staring at her two sisters for a long time. Then, she used a knife and fork to put a piece of Wagyu steak into her mouth. Tokyo, really amazing. Outside the window with shark and dolphin dolls, there was a blue sea and a blue sky. At the end of the world, they merged into one. Chapter 216. As soon as the bus back to Zei village set off, Xiaolian fell asleep. She didn't wake up until she got on the tram and arrived home. In the end, Toru Watanabe carried her on his back. The three of them sent her home and handed her over to her mother. "Ah-che, sorry to trouble you today." Xiaolian breathed evenly in her mother's arms. "Xiaolian is my sister. It's no trouble at all," Toru Watanabe said. After dinner, the two girls went to the second floor to take a shower. "Xiao-che," Watanabe said, "tomorrow morning, we'll get rice cakes in the village. Go there." "Okay." Toru Watanabe sat in the quilt. "Mom, what's the matter?" "It's the supermarket where I work part-time. Someone suddenly quit. I'm in charge of 2 shifts now." Watanabe usually worked in the field. When she was free, she would go to a town far away with several women in the village to find a part-time job. "It's too hard. Why don't you resign?" Toru Watanabe said, "My tuition and living expenses in Tokyo can be paid by myself. You don't have to work so hard." "Will you support the family with money if you resign?" Watanabe rolled her eyes at her son. No problem, Toru Watanabe said with a smile. You're still young. Don't live off a woman, Watanabe warned. Live off a woman? Mom, you're looking down on your son. I have a 1 billion yuan deposit in the Bank of Tokyo. Xiao Che. Yes. Toru Watanabe took a sugar orange from the basket on the table. Now, it's time to tell you. Watanabe sighed. Actually, I eloped with your father. Our hometown is very rich. They saw you on TV and suddenly contacted me to ask you to go back. Really? He stopped peeling the orange. Of course it's true. Dad. Toru Watanabe turned his head and looked at his father, who was calculating his annual income. Your grandparents have been buried in the ground for many years. Watanabe's father said without raising his head, If there is such a good thing, do you think it will be your turn? When you were born, I brought you to your mother's house to apologize. Actually, I have another background. Before Watanabe's mother finished her words, Watanabe's father interrupted her. I told you to watch less TV. You're already so old, yet you're still dreaming. Ache, when your mom was young, she wanted me to propose like how they do in TV dramas. By riding a motorcycle. Watanabe Jiji pinched her husband's arm hard and asked, What are you doing? Watanabe Sunio, how much did you earn this year? Watanabe's father, a man who transported goods and did farm work every day, shrunk his body and muttered in a low voice. He muttered, I'm still calculating. Mom, Toru Watanabe stuffed a piece of orange into his mouth and said, Don't worry. When I marry Miki and take over the Kujo family's property, you will be the one who elopes. Che. Kujo Sunio stood at the door of the living room. Come out for a second. Okay. Toru Watanabe put down the orange and stood up from the quilt. Watanabe's mother looked at her son worriedly as he walked out of the living room. Watanabe's father also looked up and saw him off. He was still muttering to himself. Toru Watanabe followed Miki Kujo upstairs and entered his room. You're very ambitious. It's just a joke to make my parents happy. Don't take it seriously. Miki Kujo turned around and asked, So, marrying me is also a joke? Everything is negotiable. Don't joke about marriage. I will definitely marry Miki Kujo in the future. I will never leave her in this life, and I will not allow her to leave me. The two of us will be entwined together. Toru Watanabe noticed a contemptuous smile on Miki Kujo's lips. He understood. He stopped talking nonsense. He pulled Miki Kujo into his arms and hugged her slender waist tightly. He pressed the two of them together and kissed her lips. Miki Kujo closed her eyes and hooked her arms around Toru Watanabe's neck. She passionately kissed him back. After the two of them separated, they panted and whispered in each other's ears. It's full of orange flavor. Is it delicious? Not delicious. I think it's delicious. Is it the orange that's delicious? Miki Kujo's voice suddenly became hoarse and irresistible. Or is it sister's tongue that's delicious? Of course it's. Toru Watanabe did not take off her clothes. He just crawled under her skirt. There was the beauty of the world. Miki Kujo sat on the table where Toru Watanabe studied hard when he was young. A pair of slender, snow-white, smooth legs wrapped around Toru Watanabe's head. In the end, Miki Kujo sighed heavily. Toru Watanabe came out from under her skirt, kneeling, and was about to take possession of his treasure. Miki Kujo's face was flushed. She held the hot thing in her hand. What's wrong? Toru Watanabe's voice was now full of charm that could touch any girl's heart. Apart from her body, Miki Kujo also felt her heart itch, but it was also very comfortable. Almost every time, she would be immersed in this mysterious atmosphere. But not this time. No. Why? Toru Watanabe was puzzled. This is the elder sister's punishment for bad children. Miki Kujo said with a smile. Her smile was still arrogant, but there was a hint of mischief in it, revealing an intimacy that had never been seen before. Feeling her gradually approaching heart, Toru Watanabe did not care about anything else. Mickey, my Mickey, I like you so much. He could not help but kiss her. As a result, Miki Kujio covered his mouth with her other hand. That's not okay? Toru Watanabe was puzzled. Then, he saw her expression of rejection and understood. He said teasingly, "You're despising yourself?" Miki Kujo glared at him and pushed him away. She adjusted her underwear under her skirt and said, "Kiyono is almost done bathing. Hurry up and get out. I'll come find you tonight. Look at you. Don't think about this kind of thing all day," Miki Kujo reprimanded. "People who have been comfortable once are confident." Toru Watanabe put on his pants. "Do you want to die? No. Then hurry up and get out. By the way, remember to rinse your mouth and brush your teeth." "Okay, elder sister." "Don't call me that usually." "Are you shy?" "I just think you're disgusting." Miki Kujo, who was tidying her clothes, had her back to him. Only the books on the bookshelf knew if she was shy or not. As soon as Toru Watanabe returned to the living room, Watanabe-ji, who had been worried about him, immediately asked him, "What's wrong?" "I'm fine," Toru Watanabe said casually. "You're fine? Your hair is messy. Did you fight?" Toru Watanabe touched his hair. "I was taught a lesson. Are you okay? Did you get hurt anywhere?" "I'm really fine. I'm going to take a shower. I still have to get rice cakes early tomorrow morning." Toru Watanabe walked out of the living room. On the second floor, Rin Kiyono walked back to her room while drying her hair. The window was open, and the night wind blew in. She was afraid of the cold and immediately shivered. "Why did you open the window?" she asked in a questioning tone. Miki Kujo ignored her and walked out of the room with a change of clothes. As she passed by, she seemed to be talking to herself. How pitiful. Rin Kiyono noticed her gaze and looked in the direction of her gaze. It was the chest of her blue pajamas. Childish. She slammed the window shut. The curtains were transparent white under the sunlight, and there was still a trace of coldness in the air. Rin Kiyono woke up. Beside her, Miki Kujo was sleeping soundly. After getting used to the pillow, according to her usual habits, she should have slept a little longer. However, for some reason, her body was full of energy these 2 days, and she had an impulse to move more. She quietly changed her clothes, washed up, and slowly walked downstairs. Tetsumesa Watanabe was changing his shoes at the entrance. "You woke up late today?" She thought that Toru Watanabe was going to deliver the newspaper. "No." Toru Watanabe replied, "Every family in the village will get rice cakes, but they also have to contribute." "Rice cakes?" "Yes, it's rare in Tokyo, right? Now, only the countryside has this kind of activity." Toru Watanabe changed his shoes and stood up. "I'll bring you some rice cakes later. They're delicious." "Wait a moment." Rin Kiyono stroked her chin and thought for a while. "Can I go with you? It's very chaotic there. There are people everywhere. Are you sure you want to go? I believe that you're an anomaly in Sawa village." Rin Kiyono walked over to change his shoes. "What do you mean? I'm too smart? Did I go to Tokyo to make a name for myself?" "Watanabe-san, I thought you had some self-awareness about how perverted you are. It seems that you're even more shameless than I thought." "Perverted, shameless. Am I that bad?" Rin Kiyono changed her shoes and stood up. Her cute face was slightly surprised. "Ah, you don't think that these are the only 2 things you're bad at, do you? What else? For example, lying, lecherous, and peeking at my legs." Toru Watanabe opened the door. As Lady Kiyono spoke, she took the lead and walked out of Watanabe's house. Walking through the spacious front yard, down the ramp, and onto the road, Lady Kiyono ended her criticism of Toru Watanabe by saying, "Watanabe-san, except for me, you're hopeless. You're really good at talking." Toru Watanabe was impressed. "I was shocked too." Rin Kiyono sighed. "I didn't expect you to talk for so long. Is it because you've been walking around recently? Probably. A happy smile appeared on Rin Kiyono's face. Watanabe-san, I can scold you for even longer in the future. Are you happy? That's enough. Don't assume that I'm a masochist. Being a masochist is a personal hobby. It has nothing to do with morality. I don't discriminate, so I won't hate you. Why do you have to use, "I don't want to make you hate me," as a premise? Do you want me to hate you? It doesn't matter. Lies. Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono covered her mouth elegantly. Do your best. Don't really become an uncivilized ape man. Is this really something that can be solved by doing your best? Of course not. Liking me is an innate instinct that everyone is born with. It's as natural as a baby crying. He felt like he had heard her say something similar in the distant summer when the sun shone brightly. Why aren't you saying anything? Are you admitting to it? Rin Kiyono asked curiously. No, your narcissism just now reminded me of countless summer events, Toru Watanabe replied. I'm not being narcissistic. It's the truth. Rin Kiyono emphasized the main point and asked, what did you think of Kiyono-san's legs without stockings in the summer? Ah, I really want to see them again. Shut up. I'll listen to you. As they spoke, the two of them arrived at the front yard of a house. It wasn't big, but it was already filled with people. The man was wearing a haori and had a scarf tied around his head. He looked like he was ready to work. The woman was making sweet tea and chatting happily in front of the steamer. There were only a few miners in the village. They surrounded Xiaoyan and seemed to be listening to her story about yesterday's beach trip. Ache, you're here. Uncle Honma greeted him. Good morning. Toru Watanabe replied loudly. Ache, I heard you got first place in the country? You'll definitely be able to enter Tokyo University in the future, right? The person beside Uncle Honma asked. In the eyes of many Japanese, Mr. Dongda was a godlike existence. Of course. Toru Watanabe replied, not only do I want to enter Tokyo University, but I also want to be the Prime Minister. Good boy, you're ambitious. When you become the Prime Minister, remember to take care of the village. It's best if you can give us free agricultural machines. Another person said. There's also road repairs. We must replace them with cement roads. A fourth person requested. There's also agricultural subsidies. Give us more. No problem. Toru Watanabe promised. Then, he whispered in Rin Kiyono's ear, Can the Prime Minister do these things? Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at the beautiful boy's face that was very close to her. You should first ask yourself if you can become the Prime Minister. This kind of thing, you can easily do it if you work harder, right? What gives you so much confidence? Rin Kiyono put her hand on her temple and sighed helplessly. Two people, sweet tea. Lingzi came over with the tea, looking like she would fall asleep at any time. Thank you. Rin Kiyono picked up a cup, held it with both hands, blew away the hot steam, and took a sip. Toru Watanabe also picked up a cup. Sister Lingzi, it hasn't started yet? Lingzi looked at the direction of the steamer. The glutinous rice has just been put in, so it might take a while. Then she yawned and said, No, I have to go back to the house to sleep for a while. Then, she turned around and went back into the house. The two people standing in the same place did not know what to do for a while. Do you want to walk around? Toru Watanabe asked. You've decided. Rin Kiyono was not used to the noisy crowd around her. After the two finished the sweet tea, they left the front yard and went to the riverbank not far away. On the withered grass, there was a persimmon tree. Its leaves were gone, and there were only orange persimmons on the bare branches. The same withered yellow reeds grew on the riverbank. They were tall, and the flowers swayed slightly in the windless morning. Do you know what this river is called? Toru Watanabe pointed at the river behind the reeds and asked. Rin Kiyono thought for a while. Seize Village. Seize. Even I have to admit that you're very smart. What else? What else? You know very well. Okay, I admit that you're the most beautiful woman in the world. Toru Watanabe used slightly vulgar words to imply that he was forced. Rin Kiyono brushed her long hair on her shoulder, looking slightly proud. Can this persimmon be eaten? She looked at the persimmon tree and asked curiously. It's already ripe. Of course it's edible. Toru Watanabe also looked at the persimmon tree. The two of them stood side by side and stared at the persimmon tree for a long time. Do you want to try it? Toru Watanabe turned to look at Rin Kiyono. This persimmon tree's trunk is bare. Without a certain amount of climbing ability, I'm afraid there's no way to climb it. After studying the trunk, Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe. You can climb trees? Not all country people can climb trees. And I don't want to get my clothes dirty and get scolded by Mom when I go back. I'd like to see you get scolded by Auntie. Rin Kiyono said with a smile. I have an idea. Toru Watanabe looked at the persimmon tree and said, You squat down, and I'll sit on your shoulder. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe in astonishment. She did not expect him to say this. I'm joking, don't take it seriously. How about you sit on my shoulder? Toru Watanabe asked. Rin Kiyono recovered from her surprise and sighed, I don't want to eat to that extent, I'm just curious. Toru Watanabe went to the persimmon tree and squatted down with his hand on the tree trunk. Come on. Rin Kiyono helplessly said, I said no, persimmon. I want to eat persimmons. Xiaolian ran over. Che, are you picking persimmons? I also want to eat. Ask your sister Rin. Toru Watanabe said. Sister Rin, Xiaolian's innocent face looked up at Rin Kiyono. Can we just eat one? Rin Kiyono looked at her and then looked at Toru Watanabe's squatting back. Alas. She sighed. Okay. She walked over and studied how to sit. Then she put her hands on Toru Watanabe's head and put her feet on his shoulders. Don't move, or you know what will happen. Rin Kiyono's voice was cold, and even sounded scary. I swear. Toru Watanabe pretended not to hear her shyness. He slowly stood up. Rin Kiyono felt that her line of sight was raised. The reeds that blocked her view just now became shorter. She could even see the people on the slope who were preparing to pick rice cakes. It was a novel experience. We want the reddest persimmon. Xiaolian's words made her come back to her senses. Watanabe classmate, please move to the left. Okay. Toru Watanabe held her ankle and moved 2 steps to the left. Is it enough? Move again. Okay. The persimmons were quickly picked. Unfortunately, the girl's legs clamping the boy's head part didn't happen. Rin Kiyono was physically weak, but she was very good at sports. The 3 of them ate by the river. The persimmon tree was sweet. With a light sniff, the pulp was sucked into their mouths. It's so sweet. Xiaolian took her first bite, and the corners of her mouth turned yellow. Yeah, it's really sweet. Rin Kiyono agreed. Her eating style was very elegant. Her pale face and small cherry lips made her look very innocent. Toru Watanabe was very interested and couldn't take his eyes off her. Rin Kiyono looked up and saw that Toru Watanabe wasn't eating. He was staring at her. Rin Kiyono was subconsciously worried that there was fruit pulp on her mouth. What are you looking at? She asked. Nothing. Speak. I'm thinking about when we'll get married. Lies. Rin Kiyono frowned. Even if it wasn't a lie, Toru Watanabe couldn't say it out loud. Okay, I'm thinking about something a little obscene. What is it? Are you sure you want to know? Tell me. I want to kiss you on the mouth. That's unbelievable. A little obscene. I thought you just wanted to hug me. Toru Watanabe said, Kiyono-san, you're so pure. I'm really thinking about marrying you now. At night, you'll be so shy that you'll cover your face with your arms. Hearing him say this, Rin Kiyono subconsciously thought of such a scene. Toru Watanabe-san, put away your obscene thoughts. She warned him coldly. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Rosen-san is too cute. I almost thought of a name for the child. A name for the child. Rin Kiyono took a deep breath. She wanted to pull her hair behind her ear, but she was holding a persimmon in her hand. That's unbelievable. But that's not all. What else is there? What you want to do is to become both me and Kujo-san's. At this point, she wanted to pull up her hair again, but she couldn't. She looked at Toru Watanabe and continued, Is this what you want to do after thinking about it for so long? What I want to do is to make you two friends again. That's enough. Rin Kiyono was too lazy to say anything more. Do you think you can hide your thoughts from me? I can know what you're thinking with just a blink of an eye. That made sense. If it weren't for the system, Toru Watanabe would have studied Rin Kiyono thoroughly. What else could Toru Watanabe say? You're right. Give up. It's impossible. Don't hold on to unrealistic fantasies all day long. The persimmons are sweet. Toru Watanabe held up the ripe persimmon in his hand. Although the process of picking them is troublesome. Then you can try. I'll try. But I'll say it again. My goal is to make you two friends again. Chapter 217. Little Yen, who was engrossed in eating persimmons, suddenly thought of something and replied, What's wrong? Did you eat the persimmon? Toru Watanabe asked with concern. It's okay. Rin Kiyono said, things that can't be digested will be excreted from the body through the intestines, so it won't have much of an impact. You even know this? It seems that the title, Doraheim, is no longer enough to describe you. Toru Watanabe looked at her with some surprise. That title, I've never acknowledged it. If you must give me a title, please think of a cuter and more handsome one to report to me. That's difficult. Doraheim is already the cutest and most handsome one I can think of. It seems that you've come up with a lot of unpleasant titles. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe with a gentle smile. Remember to show me your notebook when we return to Tokyo. No matter what you say, that's not okay. Toru Watanabe refused. Did you write bad things about me on the first page? No. Little Yen looked up at the two and blinked. She finally found an opportunity to speak while Toru Watanabe was caught red-handed. Che, I remember now. I'm here to ask you guys to make rice cakes. Why didn't you say so earlier? Toru Watanabe rubbed her head. It's all its fault. It has nothing to do with us. Little Yen pointed at the persimmon tree and said loudly in a serious tone. Yes, it's all the persimmon's fault. The three of them left the riverside and walked back to the front yard. Everyone was working together to make rice cakes. One person rotated the hammer, while the other rolled the rice cakes. When they were tired, they would switch people. It was said that this kind of activity could be blessed by the gods, so when they had time, everyone would participate. Che, come and hit it twice. You're a lucky person. Okay. Toru Watanabe stepped forward and took the hammer. The hammer was lifted up high, and behind it was the dark blue sky of a winter morning. Then, it smashed down heavily, landing on the steaming white glutinous rice ball. Rin Kiyono was taking pictures with his phone. Sometimes, he would put his hand under his chin and look at the camera, like a reporter from Tokyo. Eat it and you'll become smarter. You'll all be admitted to Tokyo University. The auntie who was in charge of flipping the rice cakes said such a blessing. Tomoko, Che himself hasn't been admitted to Tokyo University yet. Uncle Honma laughed. The people who were drinking sweet tea and chatting also laughed. Xiaolian was dragged over by her mother and wiped Rice Cake's mouth with all her might. Her tiny body wanted to run over to see how badly Rice Cake had been beaten up. Watanabe classmate, can I try? Rin Kiyono suddenly said. This. Toru Watanabe raised the hammer in his hand. Yes, is that okay? Toru Watanabe was a little hesitant, but in the end, he agreed. However, He replaced the auntie who was flipping the rice cakes. He squatted beside the stone mortar and said to Rin Kiyono, "Kiyono classmate, look carefully. The place where the hammer should hit is here." "I know." Rin Kiyono was slightly dissatisfied with his reminder. "Also, this round and beautiful sphere is my head. Please don't be mistaken." "Shut up." Rin Kiyono hit the hammer, and Toru Watanabe flipped the rice cakes. After confirming that he had retracted his hand, she hit it again. After playing with it for a while, she was satisfied. In order not to waste everyone's time, she returned the hammer to the villagers. The cooperation between the uncle and the auntie was not something that Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono, who were amateurs, could compare. They looked scared and worried that they would hit the hand of the person who flipped the rice cakes, but they would never hit it. "Hey! Hey!" The men who were hitting the rice cakes were all sweating profusely and shouting. The grains of rice became sticky. After 100 or 200 knocks, the glutinous rice balls in the stone mortar were placed into the prepared basin. Next, it was the women's work. The basin was quickly moved into the house. They placed the glutinous rice balls on the table, flattened them, and cut them into pieces. The rice cakes were made one by one. The house was foggy, and the windows turned white. Outside the foggy window, the men were hitting the next batch of rice cakes, and the sound of shouting could be heard. The scene was in full swing, and it drove away the chill of the winter morning. When they reached home, Rin Kiyono sat in the living room, warming herself by the fire, eating rice cakes and oranges, and reading a book. Toru Watanabe took a plate of rice cakes and brought it to Miki Kujo, who was still sleeping upstairs. Just like last time, he let Miki Kujo snuggle in his arms and covered her with a quilt, only revealing her delicate little face. He pressed his lips against her beautiful ear and said in a soft voice, "Don't worry. Miki, the rice cakes are just made. They're delicious." "Mem." Miki Kujo answered drowsily. "Look, Miki." Miki Kujo opened her sleepy eyes. Toru Watanabe was holding a piece of white rice cake with his chopsticks, and it was still steaming. She closed her eyes again. "There's salty soybean powder, sweet sugar, and soy sauce. Which one do you want? Try a bite of each." Toru Watanabe dipped a corner of the rice cake with soybean powder. "Ah." Hearing the "ah," Miki Kujo opened her mouth and took a bite. The warm rice cake was wrapped in soybean powder. It was fragrant and delicious. "Do you want another bite of sugar?" Miki Kujo nodded, and her eyes were completely open. However, she had no intention of eating it herself. She was still curled up in Toru Watanabe's arms like a baby. Miki, normally, if Toru Watanabe dared to call her that when she woke up, she would definitely stuff her stocking into his mouth. But now, she just woke up and had no energy. She didn't want to argue with him. She took a bite of the rice cake covered in sugar. It was sticky and sweet. Compared to the salty taste, it had a different flavor. "Next is soy sauce." As he said that, Miki Kujo knocked his chest with her head. "What's wrong?" He lowered his head and asked. Miki Kujo pouted. "You're so naughty." Toru Watanabe pecked her soft lips. "Okay, next is soy sauce. Come. I'm asking you to remove the strand of hair from your mouth." Miki Kujo enunciated each word clearly. She was helpless and angry. "So that's what you mean." Toru Watanabe put down his chopsticks and brushed the strand of hair away from her lips. "Is this the rice cake you just made?" Miki Kujo asked. "Yes, I just brought it back." Kiyono was there too. She even tried it a few times. "I was so scared that I almost wore a helmet," Toru Watanabe said with a smile. She was there too. Everyone in the village was there. Miki Kujo sneered. Her hand under the blanket wrapped around Toru Watanabe's side. "What happened on the way back?" "I was scolded by her." "Is that scolding? The two of you must be having fun flirting." "Miki, don't worry." Toru Watanabe fed her a mouthful of rice cake. "Although I have some instinctive thoughts about doing something to the two of you, what I think in my heart and what I actually do are two different things. She pinched the flesh on the side of his abdomen. Toru Watanabe continued. It's like, today, you've planned a lot for tomorrow, but tomorrow, you'll end up playing with your phone. Similar things happen all the time. My example doesn't seem appropriate. Anyway, I won't do that. Then what are you actually going to do? Of course I'm going to marry you. Kiyono and I are just friends, but... I want the two of you to be friends again. Impossible, Miki Kujo said without thinking. Then, she changed into a lazy tone. Soybean powder. Toru Watanabe dipped the rice cake in soybean powder and fed it to her. Other than you, Kiyono looks down on other people of the same gender. Only you can be her friend. No one else can. This sentence was also applicable if Miki was replaced by Kiyono. Considering Miki Kujo's proud personality, Toru Watanabe didn't say it. If I say it's impossible, it's impossible. White sugar. Why is it impossible? You didn't like white sugar before, right? Didn't you feel it was okay after you tried it? Toru Watanabe said. I don't want it. Miki Kujo closed her eyes and leaned in his arms, ready to sleep. Okay. I was wrong. It's impossible. Come, Miki, my Miki, open your mouth. Miki Kujo dodged. I don't want the white sugar. The white sugar is innocent. It's about to cry. Toru Watanabe dipped the rice cake in white sugar and brought it to her mouth. Miki Kujo dodged twice, but in the end, she had no choice but to eat it. She thought it was disgusting, but after she tried it, it tasted surprisingly good. Time passed day by day. Sometimes it was leisurely, sometimes it was busy. Soon, it was New Year's Eve. Watanabe's mother wore an apron and was busy in the kitchen since morning. She was preparing the New Year's dishes for tomorrow. In the evening, according to Japanese customs, she cooked soba noodles for everyone. There's nothing special in the village. Please make do with it, she said to the two young ladies. Actually, the food was already quite sumptuous. Half an egg, golden tempura, green spring onions, dark green seaweed, and their own rice field duck. All kinds of colors were spread on the steaming soba noodles. Just looking at it gave a sense of richness. The five of them ate happily. The broth is just right. It's relaxing. Most importantly, it has mom's taste. Toru Watanabe drank a mouthful of broth with satisfaction. What do you mean by mom's taste? Miki Kujo held a spoon in her left hand and a spoon in her right hand. She ate slowly. Your mom. She's also my mom. Watanabe's mother couldn't help but laugh. Watanabe's father ate the noodles in big mouthfuls. He even put natto in the noodles. Toru Watanabe said, Miki, you didn't grow up eating mom's cooking, so you don't have this kind of feeling. When I was in Tokyo, I missed mom's cooking the most. Auntie's cooking retains the original taste of the ingredients to the greatest extent. I like this style of cooking. Rin Kiyono nodded and said. Then Rin, eat more tomorrow. I've been cooking for many years. Watanabe's mother was overjoyed. On the side, Kujio Miyoshi was eating her noodles. She didn't have any intention of being polite and well-behaved to please Watanabe's parents. Toru Watanabe drank the last mouthful of broth and sighed with satisfaction. This is how it feels to celebrate Chinese New Year. NHK TV in the corner was broadcasting Japan's Spring Festival Gala. Ishikawa Kobayashi finished singing Gundam in her 42nd year and Lisa made her debut. Now that I know the reason to be strong, take me and move forward. The song Red Lotus became more and more energetic. Rin Kiyono drank a mouthful of broth and sighed. The broth warms the body from the stomach. It's very suitable for the cold of Chinese New Year's Eve. Toru Watanabe stared at the TV. The camera zoomed in. Lisa's open mouth took up almost half the screen. By the way, he turned around and looked at the two ladies who were slowly eating their noodles. Do you want to go visit the shrine? There's a shrine nearby? Rin Kiyono asked curiously. In the past few days, she had been full of motivation and had almost walked all over the village. There used to be one, but it's abandoned now. Toru Watanabe replied, The New Year visit I'm talking about is the shrine in town. Very good. Watanabe's father said, I'll drive you there. You want to drink with your friends from the shipping company, right? Watanabe's mother said angrily. No, how can I drink when I'm driving? Do you want to go? Toru Watanabe asked the two ladies. Will it be too troublesome? Rin Kiyono looked at Watanabe's father. It's okay. Watanabe's father quickly waved his hand. Although I don't drink, I still want to chat with those guys. Thank you, Uncle Watanabe. Rin Kiyono nodded slightly. Miki Kujo didn't say anything. Toru Watanabe held her hand that was holding the spoon and asked her, Come with me? Miki Kujo shook off his hand and continued to eat her noodles, which meant that she agreed. When they were about to leave, Matsuda Masako, who was wearing a white tower dress, appeared on the stage. The four of them got into Watanabe's family's KCR. The price was not even comparable to the dress that Miki Kujo wore for one day and then threw it away. The two ladies sat in the back seat, while Toru Watanabe sat in the front passenger seat. The small car drove in the unique night scenery of the countryside. What a fairy girl! Toru Watanabe knocked on the car's armrest and sang the song that Matsuda Masako sang just now. Shut up! The two ladies said at the same time. Ahem. Toru Watanabe coughed softly. In the driver's seat, Watanabe's father looked at his son. Although his father was henpecked, how could he tolerate this? Ah, Lardbone, bring it to braise, you have me to wash eggs. In other people's ears, Toru Watanabe's Red Lotus was like this, to the extent that he could not even speak Japanese well. The two ladies in the back shouted for him to shut up again, but Toru Watanabe sang even louder. Don't worry about me, make a bag of instant noodles. The more he sang, the more confident and louder he became. The two ladies frowned and looked at each other. At this moment, the two of them were connected and had the same thought, so Toru Watanabe's mouth shut. Realizing this, the two of them snorted, turned their faces away, and looked out of the window at the night sky. Watanabe's father rolled down the window of the front passenger seat. The cold wind blew in, and Toru Watanabe's hair was blown up. It's so cold. Dad, what are you doing? It's too unpleasant. Watanabe's father held the steering wheel and said lightly. Even you dislike me. I'm your son. The two ladies in the back seat laughed at the same time, and their shoulders were shaking. Occasionally, there would be street lights on the road. They were like streams of light that flowed into the darkness, but the bright Milky Way was always there, whether it was day or night. As soon as they got out of the car, they saw the bonfire in the shrine. Sparks were flying, and from afar, it looked like rain and fog. After Watanabe's father got out of the car, he went to his workmates and told Toru Watanabe to call him when he returned. In the cold wind, the two beautiful girls wrapped themselves tightly in their clothes, and Toru Watanabe put his hands in his pockets. The three of them climbed up the stone steps, went through the old gate, and came to the bonfire. The staff of the shrine was giving out free sweet tea. Toru Watanabe saw that the cups were paper cups that could only be used once, so he went up and asked for 3 cups. Miki Kujo supported her right hand with her left hand and held the paper cup with her right hand. Not to mention her expensive clothes, just her bearing and appearance alone were extraordinary. Thank you. Rin Kiyono took the paper cup and held it with both of her hands. She was still a little afraid of the cold, and the miso soup that had been drugged for a few days didn't have much of an effect. The three of them stood by the bonfire and drank the sweet tea. Opposite the bonfire, there was a crowded street vendor. Not long after, the countdown bell rang. Another year is coming to an end. Toru Watanabe looked at the sparks from the bonfire. The two ladies didn't say anything, but their cheeks were dyed red by the fire, and they were undoubtedly thinking about something. Perhaps, they were recalling this incredible and unprecedented year, and imagining what the next year would be like. Happy New Year! The moment the bell stopped, Toru Watanabe smiled at the two of them. Happy New Year! The two of them replied at the same time. Chapter 218. Let's go. Once we're done, we can go back, Toru Watanabe said. The three of them walked towards the hall of worship at the end of the path. Under the starlight and the bonfire, people who knew each other were congratulating each other. The hall of worship was a flight of more than a dozen steps. It was crowded with visitors, and the three of them were at the end of the line. The people standing behind them would subconsciously take a few steps away from them. The two young ladies didn't wear expensive kimonos, but their habits and appearances were more beautiful than everyone else's. They naturally gave people a sense of distance. As for Toru Watanabe, with his handsome face, if he wasn't stingy with his smile, many women would think nothing of him even if he wore modern clothes and sat in front of the hall of worship. Every minute or two, the crowd would move forward a step. They stood in a row, threw 5 coins, clasped their hands together and made a wish. Then, they walked away and changed to the next row. Toru Watanabe watched this repetitive operation and thought to himself, bored. Does God really like this? For example, if God Kiyono, dressed in fancy clothes, sat in the hall of worship and listened to people's wishes, she would be impatient, right? She would probably say, please work hard. If God was more famous, she might be busy with several shrines at the same time. It would be like a bank employee accepting a commission. Thinking about it this way, the hall of worship was a bit like a bank service window. It was like being visited. Imagining Rin Kiyono being visited, Toru Watanabe couldn't help but laugh. Miki Kujo looked over and frowned. What are you laughing at? Listen to me. Toru Watanabe told the two of them everything he thought of, except for the last sentence. When it was over, he added, so it's best not to make complicated and trivial wishes. Keep it simple and clear. If God is happy, she might agree. For example, give me 10 billion, live forever. Watanabe-san, do you really understand the meaning of concise and clear? Rin Kiyono interrupted Toru Watanabe's daydreaming. Compared to, I hope that my parents will be healthy, my children will be successful in their studies, and I will be promoted and get a raise, isn't give me 10 billion concise enough? Toru Watanabe asked. You're just being clear and concise, Miki Kujo said. Oh, contestant Miki, if you have something to say, please go ahead. Toru Watanabe became the host while waiting in line. Miki Kujo crossed her arms. For a god, a simple wish should be something like having a doll or going on a trip. I see, Toru Watanabe nodded and said to Rin Kiyono, Contestant Kiyono, what do you think? Just like Kujo. You two really have telepathy, as expected of people who were married before. After saying this, Miki Kujo stepped on Toru Watanabe's foot. I advise you to be careful with your words, Toru Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono also stared at him with a gentle smile. I'm guilty, I repent, I was wrong, I'm sorry. Toru Watanabe raised his hands in surrender and pretended that his foot was in pain. He said, I just wanted to liven up the New Year's atmosphere, don't take it seriously. By the way, I want to interview Miss Miki, what's the New Year like for rich people? What else? Relatives, work friends, subordinates, they all come one by one to give New Year's greetings. Miki Kujo's face was slightly gloomy when it came to this topic. It seemed that Miss Miki didn't like the New Year of rich people. It's really hard. Toru Watanabe sighed without any sympathy. Speaking of New Year's greetings, I thought of something. Miki Kujo smiled. Oh. Please go ahead. Toru Watanabe was still playing the host. Miki Kujo smiled and spread her hands at Toru Watanabe. Give me your phone. Hurry up. She spread out her hands and beckoned. Toru Watanabe reached out to take the phone and looked at Rin Kiyono from the corner of his eyes. However, Kyoto-sama didn't have a shred of sympathy for her. In fact, he seemed to approve of Miki Kujo's actions as he watched Toru Watanabe take out his phone with interest. God. No matter what God. My New Year's wish is, Senior, don't send porn, don't send porn, and don't send porn. The phone was handed to Miki Kujo's snow white and slender hand. The screen was already filled with New Year's greetings. Miki Kujo tapped on the line. Rin Kiyono looked over, and Miki Kujo glanced at her. You should need my help. Rin Kiyono looked at the phone screen and muttered to herself. Miki Kujo looked at her deeply and didn't say anything. She tapped on the first message. Toru Watanabe. Everyone, when gods and demons stand side by side, when the night wind blows and their hair is tangled together, the human world is hell. Who is this Gong Yuan? Miki Kujo asked. She's the head of the saxophone section, Rin Kiyono answered. This one? Miki Kujo asked. Ikeda Kazumi, Watanabe's classmate, Rin Kiyono answered. You even know this? Miki Kujo's tone was unfriendly. Not only do I know the names of all Watanabe's classmates, but I also know yours. Rin Kiyono's tone was indifferent. This one? Miyasahi, head of the bass section of the saxophone section. This one? This is a boy. This one? Aona Koizumi, Watanabe's favorite teacher. Kiyono-san, can you please not use such ambiguous adjectives? She's just his favorite teacher. Miki Kujo glanced at Toru Watanabe and continued scrolling. The two girls who didn't respect Toru Watanabe's privacy fell silent and looked at him at the same time. What's wrong? Toru Watanabe panicked. But when he thought about it, Miyasahi was already there, so there was no need for him to panic. Miki Kujo tapped on the screen, and a youthful, lively, and ambiguous voice sounded. Suki-kun, Happy New Year, Suki-kun, Happy New Year, Kujo's mother. Kiyono's mother. What are you doing? As a mother, can't you keep some distance from your son-in-law? You have quite a good relationship with them. Miki Kujo's tone was full of hidden meaning. Toru Watanabe was rendered speechless. It's because of you that I have a good relationship with them. My direct relationship with them is really quite ordinary. Miki Kujo gave him a take care snort as she continued scrolling. This one? Kaoru Hayami, head of the saxophone section, oboe section, and bassoon section. He's currently the head of the department. Amidst the meaningless, but not boring at all. In fact, it was quite exciting conversation, and it was now time for the three of them to pay their respects. Toru Watanabe tossed 3 5-yen coins into the betting box. Oh my god, I'll give you one more chance. Open. New product, Taru Taru Bozu. Taru Taru Bozu, hangs from the eaves. Forcefully clears the local weather. Seiji felt that this was an incredible item, but it was completely useless. Skills, Novice, Border Defense, 100, Master, Child Nutrition and Health, 1000, Master, Evasion, 10,000, Master, Mixed Combat, 100,000. Player has exchanged for Master, Evasion. 10,000 points deducted. Toru Watanabe had tried using mind reading to recover his stamina, but he failed. Also, Master. Mind reading wasn't as good as his instinctive ability to read people's expressions. He wasn't interested in the knowledge of other professions either. He had self-discipline and an encyclopedic memory, so he could rely on himself to learn anything. That was why he chose the evasion skill, which allowed him to attack and retreat as he pleased. After completing the New Year's worship quest, the three of them left the worship hall and arrived at the lantern-filled path. Under the night sky, the light from the lanterns illuminated the silhouettes of the pedestrians. What did you wish for? Toru Watanabe asked as he walked. I don't believe in these things. Miki Kujo's tone was straightforward. Where's Kiyono? It's nothing. Rin Kiyono didn't feel like talking about it. Then I'll tell you my New Year's wish. My wish is that everyone in the Human Observation Department can have a better relationship and work together. Shouldn't you be calling father? Miki Kujo looked over and interrupted Toru Watanabe. That's true. Toru Watanabe took out his phone and called his father. It was very noisy on the other end of the line. After hanging up, Toru Watanabe said to the two of them. He sounds a little reluctant. Shall we walk slowly? Let him play for a while longer? The two of them had no objections. There were all sorts of shops on both sides of the path, and all sorts of goods were sold. There were also shops opened by the shrine itself, and there were female high school students who had recently started working. They wore red and white witch costumes and sold evil-repelling arrows, bamboo rakes, roly-poly toys, amulets, and other mascots. They passed by a barbecue stall. The barbecue skewers around the charcoal fire attracted a lot of attention in the cold winter night. There were barbecued meatballs, rice cakes, fish, beef, and corn. The two young ladies didn't want any, so Toru Watanabe bought himself a corn that was slightly charred and took a bite out of it impatiently. It was so fragrant that even the girls around him were drooling, and they immediately bought all the corn from the barbecue stall. After the barbecue stall, there was a chocolate banana stall, and then a shooting stall. You too. Toru Watanabe stopped and raised his index finger with the hand that wasn't holding the corn. Give me one chance, just this once. What is it? Miki Kujo asked. My only wish for the new year is to show off in front of you. Toru Watanabe pointed at the shooting stall. The two of them looked at the stall. There were a few high school girls who were lying on the table with prop guns, so that the muzzles of their guns were as close to the target as possible. I don't think this kind of activity is cool at all. Rin Kiyono crossed her arms. She wasn't interested in this at all. Did you forget that I helped you get the penguins at the arcade? Toru Watanabe looked at her with his index finger raised. Rin Kiyono averted her gaze and lowered her voice. But it's okay if you want to play. I can be a spectator. I think I should be the one who allows this kind of thing, Kiyono-san. Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes and looked at Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono brushed her long hair away from her shoulders. Battle mode, start. Toru Watanabe dubbed her movements. Okay. Toru Watanabe stuffed the corn into Miki Kujo's hands. You just need to look at me with admiration. Miki Kujo glared at him, looked down at the corn, and took a big bite. Toru Watanabe didn't know that his corn had been eaten. He was paying the boss. The three high school girls were about to leave, but when they saw Toru Watanabe, they decided to stay. I think your aim is a little off. One of the girls couldn't help but remind him. Toru Watanabe nodded expressionlessly. He looked a little unreasonable, mainly because he didn't dare to laugh. The girl didn't get angry. Instead, she got excited and told him everything she had learned. When Miki Kujo shot her a sharp look, the girl pursed her lips in embarrassment. The girl's friends snickered at her. It was winter, so the girl's ears turned red. Toru Watanabe loaded the prop gun with rubber bullets. He held the gun with one hand and aimed at the best prize, a Hatsune Miku figurine. Saint. Toru Watanabe's voice was low and solemn, like a church choir. Believe in God's grace. God won't abandon us. Please give me the strength to defeat the enemies of my country. Miki Kujo, who was eating corn, stopped chewing. Before she could speak, Rin Kiyono said, I advise you not to ask. As the person who had been with Toru Watanabe for the longest time and knew him the best, Rin Kiyono could guess that it was a line from an anime. Pa! The rubber bullet hit Hatsune Miku's head under the box. You have to knock her out. The boss mercilessly stated the shooting rules again. How is that possible? Don't you know how powerful your gun is? The young boss shrugged, with an arrogant attitude that said, These are the rules. Don't make me talk too much in this cold weather. I don't believe it. Toru Watanabe took out his money. Give me 1,000. He was overconfident just now and only bought one round. Watanabe-san, don't embarrass us anymore. Rin Kiyono's ability to pour cold water on people was despairing. I don't believe it. I can still do it. Enough. You're still a kid. Miki Kujo returned the corn to Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe could only put down the prop gun. Before he left with the two beautiful girls, he turned around and said to the boss, you're lucky this year. Count yourself lucky during the new year. If I was alone, I would have bankrupted you today. Pauper. The boss looked down on the guy who only bought 1 round. After all, even a female high school student bought 5 rounds. The 3 of them leisurely arrived at the shrine's office. Toru Watanabe went in to call for people. There were a lot of red-faced men gathered here. There was a long table in the middle of the living room. They were eating and drinking. From time to time, loud laughter could be heard. The atmosphere was lively. The heater was not turned on, but even Toru Watanabe, who just walked in, felt so hot that he wanted to take off his jacket. "Dad, let's go." Toru Watanabe found his father and whispered. "Oh, you're here. Good." Watanabe Sunio did not drink. He was holding juice in his hand. "Sunio, this is your son?" A red-faced man beside him shouted. Gold medal in the Japan blowing competition, first in the mock exam, and his girlfriend is a lady from Tokyo. Watanabe Sunio did not drink. Because he shouted so loudly, his neck was red. "Amazing. You're promising," someone said. "Tokyo women are all vixens. They'll be cheated in the end," someone else said. "That's right. How about a blind date with my daughter?" someone else said. Watanabe Sunio dealt with these drunkards as he walked out of the office with his son. When the door was closed, Toru Watanabe heard someone shouting at them, "Who's leaving before dawn?" Then he slammed the table and shouted, "Bakayaro." When they left the shrine, the surroundings suddenly became quiet. There were no clouds in the sky, and the stars were clear. The air was colder, but also clearer. The 4 people who just came out from the crowd by the fire quickly got into the KCAR. On the way back, Toru Watanabe was still talking about the shooting booth. "What's the big deal?" Miki Kujo wanted to cross her legs, but there was limited space in the back seat. Rin Kiyono saw her trying to cross her legs but failed. One of them looked at her with contempt, while the other looked at her without looking at anything. "It's too embarrassing." Toru Watanabe put his hand on the car window. "Why is it that other male leads have to show off their handsomeness? But when it comes to me, I took the initiative to show off my handsomeness, and I actually failed." "Watanabe-san, you really think that you're the male lead? Your face is really thicker than I imagined," Rin Kiyono exclaimed. "What qualifications do you have to say that?" Toru Watanabe complained and continued to complain. "If not for you guys rushing me, I would have made that guy bankrupt." While he was complaining, the KCAR drove to Shimizuwa village. After today, they will return to Tokyo. Buzz, in Toru Watanabe's pocket, the silent phone vibrated slightly and the screen lit up. "Toru, I found a house." Chapter 219. On the first day of the new year, Miki Kujo got up earlier than usual. When she went downstairs and walked into the living room, Tetsumesa Watanabe was telling Xiaoyan about his high school life in Tokyo. At that time, the football flew across the entire Kamigawa Stadium, and the camera couldn't keep up with it. He held an orange in his hand and made an exaggerated parabola. "Oh!" Xiaoyan opened her mouth, and her small head moved along with the orange in Toru Watanabe's hand. When the football landed, he put the orange in Xiaoyan's hand. Everyone shouted, "Watanabe! Watanabe!" From that moment on, your brother, was the strongest high school student in Japan. Xiaoyan looked at the orange in her hands in a daze. "Miki, you're up." Toru Watanabe noticed Miki Kujo who walked in. Miki Kujo sat on her exclusive cushion. Xiaoyan came back to her senses and got up with her small hands on the table. Her small body obediently bowed to Miki Kujo. "We're here to pay New Year's greetings." "Happy New Year, Miki, Jeje." Happy New Year." Miki Kujo nodded in return. She noticed the red packet of New Year's money, to be precise, it was a white packet, on Xiaoyan's table and spread her hands toward Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe gave her the half-eaten orange. The flesh was still peeled, and there were fresh green leaves on the peels. "I told you to give me the money," Miki Kujo angrily said. Of course, she didn't give the orange back to Toru Watanabe. "Money? New Year's money?" Toru Watanabe asked. "I want to give Xiaolian New Year's money. MHM. If Xiaolian had a hogue, it would have stood up now. "How much do you want?" Toru Watanabe took out his wallet and asked. 1 million. 11 million. Xiaolian put on a defensive posture, as if she had suffered a powerful shock wave, similar to Super Saiyan transformation and other background characters' expressions and movements. "Where would I get so much cash?" Toru Watanabe helplessly said. "How much do you have?" Toru Watanabe counted his poor wallet. "I only have 53,000 yen. 50,000. Toru Watanabe ignored Miki Kujo's money. He took out a $1,000 bill, but because there was no red packet, he directly handed it to Xiaolian. "Xiaolian, this is Sister Meiji's New Year's money for you." Xiaolian took another step back in fright. Can we really accept it? "It's £1,000, Archer." "Of course." Xiaolian looked at it for a few more seconds and exchanged a few more glances with Toru Watanabe before she finally decided to accept it seriously. When she carefully took the $1,000 bill, her eyes were filled with innocence and watery tears. "I'm moved." She held the $1,000 bill in her arms. "I'm moved by this $1,000 bill." 1,000. Miki Kujo frowned and looked at Toru Watanabe, who made his own decision. "You don't even have 10,000. Miki, this place is different from Tokyo." Toru Watanabe put away his wallet. In Mizawa village, the New Year's money is all coins. 1,000 is already several years' worth of New Year's money. The highest value of coins was 500, which was enough to buy a bag of snacks in a small store in Mizawa village. For the children living in Mizawa village, and even for the adults, the amount of New Year's money in Tokyo was unimaginable. As for the New Year's money that Kujo casually mentioned, 1 million, the vast majority of people living in Tokyo's Chiyoda district, or Harbor district, probably didn't dare to think about it. "Miki, you're up?" Watanabe came in with the rice cake. "Happy New Year." Miki Kujo got up and beautifully bowed to Watanabe. "Mother, Happy New Year." Watanabe was stunned, then smiled happily and said again, "Happy New Year." Sitting in the kotatsu, Toru Watanabe lazily looked at this scene with his hands behind his body. "Miki, this is your New Year's money." Watanabe took out a white-red envelope from her apron pocket. "Thank you, Mother." Miki Kujo bowed again and took it with both hands. Putting down the rice cake, Watanabe noticed Xiaolian, who was holding the $1,000 bill. "Xiaolian, what's this?" she asked. "New Year's money from Miki Jeje." Xiaolian replied. "I see, then did you say thank you to Miki Jeje?" Xiaolian's body trembled. "I forgot." Then, she hurriedly put her feet together and respectfully bowed to Miki Kujo. "Miki Jeje, thank you so much, I'll always remember you." She spoke in the Iwate Prefecture dialect, and her use of honorifics was quite good. Yep, it was just that the words she used were a bit unlucky. When the atmosphere was a bit awkward, Rin Kiyono also came into the living room with the rice cake. While the five of them were eating breakfast, Toru Watanabe asked, "Mom, where's Dad?" "He's still sleeping in." After breakfast, the five of them sat down and chatted, listening to Toru Watanabe continue to brag about his rosy high school life. On the TV, there was an inexplicable New Year's program that thought it was okay to make noise. Sorry, I woke up late." Watanabe Sunio walked in embarrassedly. "Uncle, Father. Happy New Year." Two girls, one of them a young girl, congratulated him in unison. "Happy New Year. Happy New Year." As Watanabe Sunio sat down to eat the rice cake, a cell phone's default ringtone sounded. Miki Kujo took out her cell phone and answered the call. Xiaolian stared at the cell phone. It was a model she had never seen before. When Miki Kujo put down her cell phone, Toru Watanabe asked, "What's the matter?" He recognized that it was Robot Shizuru on the other end of the line. The things I bought are here. Miki Kujo finished speaking and stood up with an inviolable aura. Father, can I trouble you to come out for a moment? Ah, okay. Watanabe Sunio wiped his mouth. Do you need to move something? No. Miki Kujo walked out of the living room. I bought a car for you. Watanabe Sunio gasped in surprise and covered her mouth with her hand. Watanabe Sunio came back to his senses and hurriedly said, How can I accept your gift? This is... I think it needs your stamp, please hurry up and get it. Miki Kujo's tone was very polite, and she used honorifics, but her tone was commanding. Watanabe Sunio had never seen such a domineering person in his life, nor had he ever been given a car. He stood there dumbfounded, not knowing what to do. Dad, I've already bought it, go get the stamp, Toru Watanabe said. He, too, was startled. But... Watanabe Sunio hesitated. A car is worthless to Miki. Toru Watanabe continued to persuade him. She's just an acquaintance who can't be considered a friend. When she first met me and found out that I was her boyfriend, she wanted to give me a Lamborghini. Don't accept gifts from others. Watanabe had not recovered from the shock, but she instinctively blurted out a lesson. I know, I didn't go to get it, Toru Watanabe responded, and then urged, Dad, go quickly, don't keep them waiting. Oh, okay. Watanabe Hang Xiong's footsteps felt somewhat cheerful as he left the living room. Perhaps in his fear, uneasiness, and surprise, he prayed that it was a BMW, which was the dream of Watanabe's father. Toru Watanabe complained in his heart, Dad, how are you going to fight against the erosion of the capitalists like this? I'll go and take a look. Watanabe Ji was still worried. I want to see it too. Xiaolian also ran out, her footsteps making loud thumping noises. Toru Watanabe retracted his gaze and took a piece of persimmon. When he took the first bite, he noticed that Rin Kiyono was holding her chin and thinking about something. What are you thinking about? He asked. Should I also give Aunt Ji a gift, like a kimono? Rin Kiyono pondered and said, You don't have to do that, right? Also, the kimono you gave her must be too expensive. Toru Watanabe had been with Miki Kujo for a long time, so he had seen all kinds of kimonos. Among them, there were some that were not only hand-painted, but also handmade. The price was probably enough to buy a condominium in Tokyo. It's just filial piety, what are you thinking about? Rin Kiyono glared at Toru Watanabe with dissatisfaction. Is it really okay to use the word filial piety? Toru Watanabe did not ask this question. The persimmon in his hand was so sweet that he could not speak. At that time, he was drinking tea. After a while, a group of people came back. Watanabe's father was holding some lists and brand new car keys in his hand. He could not hide the smile on his face. Ache, we also have a gift. Xiao Lian ran over and shouted at Toru Watanabe. Really? What kind of gift? Toru Watanabe asked. Just some drawing tools. It's not a gift, Miki Kujo said. After this incident, there was nothing else worth recording. The new year in the countryside was very boring. His father drove the new car to visit his friends at work, while the others stayed at home to play Fu Xiao. Xiao Lian drew the faces of the 5 people, and she drew the portraits of the 5 people. Although there were no eyes, mouths, and other facial features, the facial features and hairstyles were very well captured. It was easy to tell who was who at a glance. After the game started, it was their turn to be blindfolded. Their eyes, nose, mouth, and other facial features were arranged. Toru Watanabe put his nose on his forehead, Rin Kiyono put his left and right eyes on the opposite side, Miki Kujo put her mouth on top of her lower lip. The faces of the 5 people with the lowest appearance score of 7 were so funny that it made people burst out laughing. Watanabe's mother also put these 5 faces on the pillar in the living room. There was a mark used to measure Toru Watanabe's height. Miki Kujo gave Toru Watanabe's father a 20 million yuan car. Toru Watanabe also saw it later. What Lexus? What flagship luxury MPV? He did not know. He only knew that the back seat was big enough for the young lady to stand on tiptoe. They spent the new year peacefully. The next day, the 2nd day of January, was when they returned to Tokyo. Miki Kujo, who did not want to waste time, directly ordered the helicopter to send the 3 people back to Tokyo. The fuselage was 19.75 meters long, the main rotor length was 16.62 meters, and the height of the helicopter was 5.54 meters. It shocked the villagers. But with Toru Watanabe's father's car in front, they should be able to accept it, right? The cabin was very spacious, and it could seat up to 18 people. It was arranged like a meeting room. After boarding the plane, Queen Kujo went straight to bed, and Miss Kiyono was reading a book. Only Toru Watanabe, who had not seen the world, looked left and right, and learned how to operate the helicopter. Then, he took out his phone and took pictures and sent them to his family group. Every time, Kiyono's phone would vibrate, and she would shoot an impatient look at Toru Watanabe. Then, Toru Watanabe would take pictures of the 2 people. When he accidentally took a picture of Tokyo Tower, he had arrived in Tokyo. January 2nd, resting at home. January 3rd, Toru Watanabe went out to look for a house. The weather was clear, the sun was soft, and the streets were colorful. It was summer. On the sidewalk, there were scattered salarymen who went to work on the 2nd day of the new year. At noon, they were wearing suits and going out to look for food. There were also shopping friends and families taking a stroll. Toru Watanabe came face to face with a young couple. "Let's go to Thousand Bird Abyss and the Kokyo?" The wife suggested happily. That's too far." The husband was not very willing. "What's the matter?" "You stay at home all day, and it's rare for you to come out. Let's enjoy the sun together." The wife's tone was gentle but a little tough. "All right, if that's what Yushi wants. I like you the most." The wife held her husband's arm intimately. The 2 were very loving, because the young wife did not even look at Toru Watanabe, and kept looking at her husband. After passing by, Toru Watanabe thought to himself, would there be a day when Miki would hold his hand and press her body weight on him and act like a spoiled child? My senpai. I really hope there will be a day when she can be honest. Toru Watanabe admitted that he was a scumbag, 2-timing. The only thing he could do now was not to hurt the 2 of them, and at the same time, not to accept the kindness of any other women. But Rin Kiyono, he decided not to think about it, and left everything to his future self to worry about and choose. Maybe he would regret it, maybe he would be sad, maybe he would be happy, but that was all in the future. Now, he was going to meet my senpai. The 2 of them would live close to each other. This was something that made him feel relaxed when he thought about it. Toru Watanabe put his hands in his pockets and walked slowly, enjoying the sun alone. Under the mottled sunlight from the trees on the street, his every move was as beautiful as the ukiyo-e in the Genjin Art Museum. According to the address given by Masahi, it was an apartment building 5 minutes away from Shinano Station. The staff who had made an appointment in advance took Toru Watanabe to see the apartment. This apartment was completed in February 2014, with a total of 10 floors, a total of 195 households, an RC structure, excellent earthquake resistance, in line with the new seismic standards. In the elevator, the staff repeated the same message that they had repeated countless times. The 2 of them came to the 5th floor. The staff took out the key and opened room 502. Sir, this suite has an area of 105.86 square meters, 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and a balcony area of 21.3 square meters. In the introduction, Toru Watanabe walked around, and it was indeed quite good. There was a crescent-shaped bathtub in the bathroom, and the balcony of Meiji Shrine could be seen. Sir, there are 3 stations, 2 lines. The nearby shopping street and electronic street have. If you like sports, Meiji Shrine Yuan has professional morning jogs every day. Then here it is. Seeing the apartment was just a process. Senpai Mai lived on the 6th floor, and Toru Watanabe had planned to live here from the beginning. After discussing the details, the two of them walked out of the room. Toru Watanabe dealt with the chattering staff while thinking about whether to move the electronics from the old rental apartment or just buy a new one. Ah, it's so heavy. I told you not to. You can't buy anything in Tokyo, but you just had to take it. Don't eat it if you can. I helped you take it, why can't I eat it normally? Okay, you two have been arguing all the way, we're home. 3 young women appeared in front of Toru Watanabe, carrying large and small bags. Their bodies were about to collapse. Watanabe? Aona Koizumi's beautiful oval-shaped face was full of surprise. Why are you here? Young man, your lust is a bit obvious. Miyazaki Miyuki, the big-breasted one, teased. He. Huang Zi laughed maliciously. Toru Watanabe did not know what to say. Chapter 220. Happy New Year. After greeting, Aona Koizumi asked again in confusion, Watanabe, why are you here? Toru Watanabe looked at the real estate staff beside him, then looked at Aona Koizumi and the other two, renting a room. You're staying here? Huang Zi pointed at room 502. Yeah. Toru Watanabe nodded. Huang Zi wanted to pat his shoulder, but because she had too many things on her, she didn't succeed. She said with a mischievous face, Welcome to visit. 501? Toru Watanabe asked. Young man, don't let your imagination run wild and pee your pants at night just because you're living next door to a beautiful teacher. Miyazaki Miyuki was obviously very intellectual, but she spoke like an experienced person. I can't control my imagination, but no matter how much I pee my pants. Toru Watanabe suddenly understood what she was talking about. That thing also seemed to be out of his control? He could only change his words. I'll try my best. I don't dislike this kid's honesty, although it's a bit dirty. Miyazaki Miyuki used her status as a family member to express her opinion of Toru Watanabe to Aona Koizumi. Miyuki, what are you talking about? Aona Koizumi didn't understand, or maybe she deliberately didn't understand. Watanabe, do you live alone? The rent here is very expensive. Have you forgotten, Aonai? Huang Zi said with a smile, This kid's girlfriend is the eldest daughter of the Kujo family, and his lover is the eldest daughter of the Kiyono family. Halfway through her words, Toru Watanabe turned to the staff and said, Sorry to trouble you today. No, I'll take my leave first. If there's anything, please give me a call, I'll try my best to solve it for you. The tactful staff bowed to Toru Watanabe and the 3 teachers and walked into the elevator. What's there to be embarrassed about? Isn't it just marrying into the family? Guangzi was disdainful of Toru Watanabe's method of sending people away. My own dream is to find a rich man and marry him. Koizumi, sensei, what is the other half of your dream? Toru Watanabe asked. Hey, be more interested in me, you brat. Huang Zi howled in dissatisfaction. Yes. Toru Watanabe reached out and took the bag from Huang Zi's hand. I don't have any money. I can only help you move things. I hope you don't mind. Huang Zi rubbed his sore shoulders. It's too late. No matter what, I won't speak up for you. Facing his friend's teasing, Aona Koizumi helplessly smiled bitterly. Let's go back to the house and put down the things. Toru Watanabe followed them into room 501. The layout of the room was more or less the same as the 502 he rented. The furniture in the room was very warm. There were doll pillows on the sofa and a cute plush carpet under the sofa. On the balcony, there were pantyhose drying. Well, it was very lively. Going back to my hometown for Chinese New Year, at least put it away. Toru Watanabe thought in his heart. Phew, I'm so tired. Huang Zi threw his body on the sofa. Miyazaki Miyuki also sat down and sighed. Watanabe, sit down. I'll get you some water. Aona Koizumi said. No need. Toru Watanabe stopped looking at the layout of the room. I still have to go back to move furniture and buy a bed. Can't you just call a moving company online? Huang Zi took a pillow and directly lay down. Moving company. Toru Watanabe didn't know about this. In Shimazawa village, where there wasn't even karaoke, it was better to count on a moving company than to count on 100 coins under a vending machine. Don't call a moving company. You don't have many things. I'll drive and help you move them later. Aona Koizumi came over with water. How can I do that? Sensei, you've already worked hard today. Toru Watanabe took a cup and sat down on the single-seater sofa. We can wait until tomorrow. Aona Koizumi knocked on his head and also sat down. She rubbed her shoulders and said, Watanabe, is it okay for you to live in such a big house by yourself? Is there something wrong? Toru Watanabe asked. Kujo-san is your girlfriend, but you can't keep spending her money. But she gives me $1 million every month and forces me to use it up. Ah. Huang Zi sat up and then lay back down with a look of envy and despair. I also want to have a boyfriend like that. Ah. Noticing Toru Watanabe's strange look, Miyazaki Miyuki said, She's just yelling. Right now, she's working harder than anyone to save money and prepare to buy this house. Huang Zi sensei is amazing. Toru Watanabe said with admiration, This house must be very expensive, right? Located in Shinjuku, it's a 5-minute walk away from Shinano Station. There are 2 lines, Sobu Line and Chua Main Line. It's next to the famous Meiji Shrine Wayuan. 159. 8 million yen. Huang Zi blurted out. That's quite cheap. Toru Watanabe said casually. Cheap. Huang Zi exclaimed and then said a lot of things. The 3 of us have just been employed for 3 years. The average annual income is 6 million yen. This is already very high. Even so, without eating or drinking and not including the rent, it'll be 1,800 yen a year. It'll take us 10 years to buy this house. The annual income will increase with the length of employment, right? Toru Watanabe asked curiously. I already said that the rent won't be included if we don't eat or drink. Moreover, the 3 of us have to buy it together. Miyazaki Miyuki was a bit helpless. Do we really have to buy it together? Yes. Huang Zi got up, took the remote control on the glass table, and turned on the TV. The 3 of us plan to stay together for the rest of our lives. So, Watanabe boy, if you want to pursue my aonai, you must be prepared to support me and Miyuki. Aona Koizumi rolled her eyes and said, Watanabe, don't listen to her nonsense. But speaking of buying a house, thanks to you this year, my annual income has exceeded 10 million yen. She was a bit happy. Speaking of which, Huang Zi turned off the boring TV and sat up with a pillow in her arms. Watanabe, do you want to join my class in the 2nd grade and let me get some bonus? Thank you, but no need. I like Koizumi-sensei. Aha. Huang Zi was even more childish than Watanabe, kicking and throwing a tantrum on the sofa. Toru Watanabe ignored her and asked the smiling Aona Koizumi, Koizumi-sensei, school starts on the 9th. Why did you come back today? I have to work. Aona Koizumi answered. Work. Toru Watanabe didn't understand. Young man, you don't think that teachers don't have to work because students aren't here, do you? Miyuki said. What do teachers do when they're not in class? The competition between schools in the monthly exam and the impossible performance. In addition to the results, we also have to deal with complaints, inspection of teaching materials, mock lectures, and endless teaching and research meetings, not to mention the parent-teacher meetings. Koizumi Aonai complained. This was the first time Toru Watanabe saw Aona Koizumi complaining. However, as a teacher or a celebrity, it was normal to have 2 faces. For example, Huang Zi. He heard that she had a lot of authority in Class 2 and Class 3, but now? She was lying on the sofa with her butt up, pretending to cry. He really wanted to take a picture and send it to her students. Will it be easier in a public school? Toru Watanabe asked. Maybe. Aona Koizumi said, but public school teachers have to change schools regularly. The three of us didn't want to be separated, so we went to a private school together. As for why I chose Kamigawa, it's because I like the name. I'm reminded of when we first came to Tokyo. Miyuki's voice was filled with nostalgia. At that time we were still living in Shinjuku. We had to wake up 2 hours earlier to catch the tram. After staying at the sensei's house for half an hour, Toru Watanabe said goodbye and left. When he was changing his shoes at the entrance, Huang Zi's voice came from the living room. Watanabe, Qing-nai will sleep in the innermost room. Don't go to the wrong door for a night attack. Nonsense. I slept in the outermost room. So you were looking forward to a night attack? Ah. Not at all. There's a fight in the living room. I really want to go back and take a look. Toru Watanabe put on his shoes and said, Sorry for disturbing you. Then he left room 501. The next day, Aona Koizumi drove him to help him move his luggage. Actually, it wasn't much. Most of it was clothes and school supplies. There were also computers, game consoles, cameras, adult night belts and so on that were purely for the sake of spending money. Miki Kujo's stockings were also well taken care of. At noon, Tetsumasa Watanabe was thinking about where to put the computer and whether to buy a computer table along with the bed when Aona Koizumi called him over for lunch. The three of us usually eat whatever we want. Don't mind, she said. I usually eat whatever I want outside. This is already sumptuous enough. It's too expensive to eat outside. You can save a lot of money if you cook for yourself. After all, we have to save money to buy a house in Shinjuku. Toru Watanabe said. Yes, we have to save money to buy a house in Shinjuku. Aona Koizumi replied with a smile. After saying that, she went to wake up the two young girls who were still sleeping. The heater was on in the room. The two teachers who had just woken up were wearing revealing clothes. Miyazaki Miyuki was wearing shorts and a short-sleeved shirt. She had plump legs, perky buttocks, and breasts that were taller than Mount Fuji when she stretched. In short, it was not good for the body. Especially when Toru Watanabe was an overly energetic 16-year-old boy. She had long pajamas and long pajamas. There was nothing special about her except that the pajama's collar was sloppy and the buttons were not properly buttoned, revealing a bit of her white skin. Not good, really not good. Tetsumasa Watanabe sat still and refused to take a second look. This was a very simple matter for him who was becoming more and more determined. If he said he would not take a second look, he would not take a second look. Up until now, it had only failed on Rin Kiyono. The most special thing is her, above everything else is her, my God, Rin Kiyono. At that time, Toru Watanabe suddenly thought of a prayer from Kiyono's church. Wow! Sandwiches, fried chicken, tamagoyaki, bacon and asparagus rolls, fried eggs, mushrooms, and a box of strawberries. You're eating so well today? Huang Zi impatiently sat down. It's all thanks to you. Miyazaki Miyuki teased. Not at all. It's my first day back, so I should eat something good. Even if it wasn't Rin Kiyono, the three people present knew that Aona Koizumi was lying. I'll dig in. The four of them clapped. It's delicious. Toru Watanabe praised. Yep, it's delicious. Huang Zi placed her right foot on the chair, the sole of her foot pressed against her left thigh. Young man, you can come for every meal. Miyazaki Miyuki said. I'll allow it too. Huang Zi ate the fried chicken in her mouth and held the strawberries in her hand. But remember to pay for the food, we're flat here. The three people's expressions were exaggerated. Aona Koizumi, who was praised, was both helpless and a little happy. Is there a need to be so exaggerated? Koizumi, sensei doesn't usually cook? Toru Watanabe asked curiously. Curry for 3 meals. Miyazaki Miyuki said. Or order takeout. Huang Zi replied. How is it that exaggerated? Don't talk nonsense. Aona Koizumi blushed and pouted. For the sake of the teacher's healthy diet, I've decided to come for every meal. Food expenses per person. Huang Zi. Aona Koizumi unhappily pushed Huang Zi's outstretched hand back. It's the same for 3 people. It's the same for 4 people. Also, Watanabe is our student. How can we take his money? He's your student. This guy only recognizes you. Huang Zi whispered. Seeing that Aona Koizumi was about to scold her again, she quickly changed her words. If you don't want to pay, then don't pay. Anyway, this guy got first place in the country, so I'll give you a lot of bonus. How about this? Toru Watanabe said. I'll wash the dishes in the future. Then it's decided. Looking at the speed of her reply, Miyazaki Miyuki and Huang Zi usually did the dishes. In the afternoon, Toru Watanabe went out to buy things. Sofa, coffee table, kitchen supplies, fridge, and so on. There was also a big white bed that was 16 million square meters. It could probably fit around 6 people lying side by side. It was very soft. Toru Watanabe used to like to sleep in a hard bed, and he didn't care about the size. However, after sleeping with Miki Kujo for a long time, he got used to the softness and size of her bed. This time, he simply bought this kind of bed. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on the jungle of Meiji Shrine Wayuan. Toru Watanabe was dragged by 3 teachers to buy ingredients. For dinner, he had delicious anchovy hot pot. The days before school started were recorded in the diary like this. In the morning, he ran in Meiji Shrine Wayuan. There were indeed professional athletes who came here for morning runs. In the morning, he wandered around and found 3 bookstores. The one he frequented was Chang Shan Tang Bookstore, but he still liked Kamihocho. Before reading, he would ask Rin Kiyono about the books she had recently read. After reading, he would talk about his own reading experience and was often ridiculed, hoping to be praised one day. In the afternoon, he went for a walk in the outer garden of the shrine with the teachers and looked at the 300-meter Ginkgo Avenue, occasionally rowing a boat in the lake. In the evening, he didn't go to Miki Kujo's place. Instead, he played games with Keisuke Saito and the others at home. Sometimes, he played family games with the teachers. Mayasahi hadn't moved in yet. When Toru Watanabe talked to her on the phone, she said that she would wait until spring break to move out. The winter break passed quickly, and the 3rd semester started in the blink of an eye. January 9th, Kanagawa High School, in the shoe cabinet. Kiyono-san, I haven't seen you in 6 days. Is that so? Rin Kiyono took out her shoes from the cabinet. The highest temperature today is 16 degrees Celsius, the highest temperature since January. It's a good weather for reunion. Watanabe-san, are you a dragonfly with a lifespan of only 8 months? What do you mean? Reunion refers to friends or family meeting again after a long separation. Rin Kiyono stood up and looked at Toru Watanabe. If 6 days is a long separation, I think you should be a dragonfly. After saying that, she added without waiting for Toru Watanabe's reply. Sorry, I didn't consider the possibility that you're a fly. Based on the fact that you're making noise, it's more likely that you're a fly. Closing the shoe cabinet, Rin Kiyono said one last thing before she left. Judging from your appearance, you probably don't know that a fly can only live for 1 month. Who was the fly that was making noise? Could it be that Kiyono-sama missed her only believer very much after not seeing him for 6 days? Toru Watanabe slowly changed his shoes and didn't follow her. After all, from today onwards, they would see each other every day. Chapter 221. Toru Watanabe walked into Year 1 Class 4, hung his backpack on the table, and sat down in his seat. The classroom was noisier than usual. Kuin Watanabe, good morning. A girl came over to greet him. Good morning. Hey, Kuin Watanabe, did you have a good New Year? Another girl asked. I had a great time eating at my hometown. The girls giggled, laughed, and giggled, making the classroom even livelier. When Keisuke Saito and Osamu Kunai arrived, the girls reluctantly left. What's going on with you two? Toru Watanabe asked. What do you mean what's going on? Keisuke Saito took out his winter vacation homework from his backpack and asked in puzzlement. Toru Watanabe pointed at his eye sockets. Osamu Kunai took out a small mirror from his backpack and narcissistically smoothed his buzz cut back before checking his eye sockets. It's just dark eye sockets. They don't affect Uncle Guo's handsomeness at all. He smoothed his buzz cut back again. That's enough. Keisuke Saito snatched the mirror from him. Watanabe and I didn't even say we were handsome. He fixed his hair in front of the mirror. Osamu Kunai took out his winter vacation homework and said to Toru Watanabe, Watanabe, hurry up and give me your homework, hurry up. Toru Watanabe bent down and took out his homework from his backpack. Lunch drinks. Are you looking down on Uncle Guo's New Year's money? Osamu Kunai flipped Toru Watanabe's homework to a specific page, wrote down a few numbers on his homework, and hurriedly flipped to the back. It seemed that he didn't know how to do it, or did know how to do it, but was too lazy to calculate it. Everyone is clearly playing games all night, so why don't you have dark circles under your eyes, Watanabe? Keisuke Saito closed the mirror and asked curiously. Do you know how many meters it takes to circle the Meiji Shrine Waiuon? Toru Watanabe asked indifferently. The outer court of the Celestial Palace? Is there a math problem like this? Saito Keisuke opened the mirror again and looked at himself in the mirror reluctantly. Let's change the question. Have you seen Kano Miho at 5 in the morning? Miho Kano. Osamu Kunai raised his head. Even though he wasn't looking at his homework, he was still writing. The sporting world's Yui Shinhuan? Pole vault athletes? You actually slept with her. Can you not simply define the relationship between a man and a woman as sleeping or not sleeping? There are a lot of relationships. It's over. Osamu Kunai glanced at the front door. I'm still writing. Everyone, return to your seats. Aona Koizumi walked in with her lesson plans. The third semester is very short, only a little more than 2 months, but there are many exams. Tomorrow, there will be a strength test, a monthly exam at the end of the month, and the final exam on the 19th of next month. Aona Koizumi's beautiful oval-shaped face was stern as she lectured the entire class in a stern tone, helping them to get out of their New Year's holiday. Osamu Kunai glanced at the podium for a second, then lowered his head to copy his homework for 3 seconds, and then glanced at the podium again. Keisuke Saito held the mirror in his hand. He seemed to be staring at the podium, but in fact, he was looking at the mirror narcissistically. Toru Watanabe rested his face on his right hand and looked out the window. The clear winter sky, the tall buildings of Shinjuku, the trams of Shiya Station, and the oak trees with winter buds. The passing crows landed on the iron net of Kamigawa's sports field. Their coarse and hoarse cries could not reach here. The day's classes passed quickly. After the 7th period geography class, Toru Watanabe took his bag from the hook beside the desk and prepared to go to the activity room. Class 3 had just finished class, and the blackboard eraser couple had not started yet. Class 2, which Miki Kujo was not in, was still in class. Huang Zi, the English teacher, crossed her arms and coldly looked at all the students of Class 2. Occasionally, she would flip through the test papers on the desk and say, for the vocabulary test, 7 of you got 2 wrong, 5 of you got 3 wrong, and 3 of you got 4 wrong. After he finished speaking, he sneered, "Ha! How scary!" Toru Watanabe's gaze from the door attracted her attention. Huang Zi wanted to see which student dared to be so bold, so she glared at him fiercely. Toru Watanabe made a cute peace sign next to his cheek. Cough, cough, cough. Huang Zi held back her laughter and coughed. The girls of Class 2 saw Toru Watanabe's expressionless face and snickered. Laughing. How can you still laugh? Huang Zi picked up the test papers and slapped them. Chalk dust flew up from the podium. Class 2 returned to silence. Huang Zi composed herself and was about to call Toru Watanabe in to scold him together, but the kid was no longer at the door. Class 1 was over, but God was nowhere to be seen. After going up to the 5th floor, Toru Watanabe walked through the corridor between the teaching building and the club building, opened the door of the activity room, and walked into the human observation department, which he had not seen for 15 days. Rin Kiyono sat by the window reading with her long black hair. White mist lingered around her as the kettle boiled water. Toru Watanabe still remembered that scene. Her light cherry-colored lips, fair neck, and legs wrapped in stockings under the table were so dazzling. She was a perfect beauty. Good afternoon, Kiyono. After greeting her, Toru Watanabe sat down in his seat. Good afternoon, Watanabe. The beautiful girl nodded slightly, her eyes never leaving the hardcover book in her hand. Not at all. You don't even want to look at me. If you don't look at me from top to bottom with your disgusting eyes the next time you enter, I will forgive you in my heart and look at you again. Then you won't have any hope in your life. Toru Watanabe took out the book that he had only read the beginning. Because you're too cute. I can't not look at you. A very rigorous conclusion. Rin Kiyono's fair and slender fingers flipped the pages of the book. By the way, about Kiyono's religion, I've been thinking of a prayer recently. Do you think it's okay? Toru Watanabe opened the first page of the book and recited, "The most special is her. Above everything is her." My God, Rin Kiyono. What do you think? I thought of it when I was eating. Rin Kiyono didn't say anything. She seemed to judge that continuing to talk with Toru Watanabe was purely a waste of time. Toru Watanabe didn't care. In the sound of the boiling kettle, he read Selena's Long Night Journey. After the water boiled, Rin Kiyono made black tea. Toru Watanabe's thanks was mixed with a knock on the door. Go ahead. Rin Kiyono sat back in her seat. Sorry to disturb you. The voice of the person who came was extremely transparent. With Toru Watanabe's picky sense of aesthetics, the only voices that could be considered pleasant to listen to were his god, his girlfriend, his lover, his Koizumi-sensei, and apart from them, there was only Kaori Hayami-senpai. However, if you ask whose voice was the best, of course, it was his own. Good afternoon, Kiyono classmate, Kuin Watanabe classmate. Good afternoon, senior sister. The two of them greeted her in unison. The relationship between the two of you is still so good. Kaoru Hayami said with a gentle smile. No, I was just disliked. I have to be forgiven 3,000 times before Kiyono classmate will look at me. Toru Watanabe took a chair. Rin Kiyono glared at Toru Watanabe and said to Kaoru Hayami, What's the matter, senior? Kaoru Hayami first thanked Toru Watanabe in a low voice. After sitting down, she answered Rin Kiyono's question, Kiyono classmate, I'm here to ask about the playing department. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe. Watanabe classmate. Why do you want me to pour tea? Toru Watanabe protested. No, thank you very much. I'm not thirsty. Kaoru Hayami hurriedly said. Rin Kiyono ignored her and asked Toru Watanabe in a matter-of-fact tone, Am I not your god? Hey, I'm just saying, do you really think of yourself as a god? As everyone knows, there is only one god in this world, and that is, what are you waiting for? You can't even understand simple instructions. Do you want me to teach you step by step? Yes, as you wish. All right, then it was Kiyono's god. Toru Watanabe poured Kaoru Hayami black tea in a disposable paper cup. Thank you. Kaoru Hayami was a little flattered by the black tea. It's just boiled water. Be careful, it's hot. Toru Watanabe reminded her. Kaoru Hayami showed an even gentler smile. Just as she was about to say something to Toru Watanabe, Rin Kiyono's cold voice interrupted her. Senpai Hayami, didn't you come to the Human Observation Department for some business? Ah, right, it's like this. Kaoru Hayami paused for a moment to organize her thoughts. Kiyono classmate, you should know that I'm now the head of the playing department. I know. I was the head of the playing department in junior high, but at that time, everyone participated in club activities with the mentality of, as long as you're happy, so I didn't feel any pressure. Do you feel pressure now? Toru Watanabe took a sip of the black tea. Yes. The heater was on in the room. Kaoru Hayami was still holding the cup with both hands. Everyone is aiming for national gold. I don't know if I can do it well. So you're here to ask us to instill confidence in you? To be a cheerleader? To tell you you can do it? Or you're awesome every day? Toru Watanabe said. That's not it. Kaoru Hayami shook her head with a smile. She looked at Rin Kiyono. Kiyono classmate, can you go back to the playing department? I can make the head. I'm sorry. Rin Kiyono gave her a direct answer. I'm the one who should be sorry. I came to find you without permission. Kaoru Hayami hurriedly said. Then, I'm sorry for bothering you. I'll take my leave first. Take care. Rin Kiyono nodded. Watching Kaoru Hayami leave dejectedly, Toru Watanabe said enviously, That's great. I also want someone to invite me to be the head. Can't the vice head satisfy you? The only member under me is Miki Kujo. What's the use of having a vice head like that? His tone was exaggerated, and his expression was miserable. Rin Kiyono smiled. That's because you're not strong enough. You can't order her around either. You still have the nerve to laugh at me? Toru Watanabe classmate. I was wrong. Rin Kiyono was slightly stunned, and said with some surprise, You're quick to apologize. You called me by my full name. How can I not be quick? Rin Kiyono felt like she had been seen through by Toru Watanabe. This made her slightly annoyed, and also a little. She brushed her long hair away from her shoulders and said with a cold face, Don't be so self-righteous. Do you think you know me well enough? No. Toru Watanabe pretended not to see her shyness. After school, Toru Watanabe returned to the Shinano apartment. As soon as he stepped out of the elevator, he saw Huang Zi standing in the corridor waiting for him. Watanabe, you're coming. Her tone was gentle. Huang Zi sensei, what's the matter? Toru Watanabe walked over. When he was almost there, he twisted his body and just happened to dodge Huang Zi's hand. Stop, don't run. If you don't chase, I won't run. Okay, I won't chase. Huang Zi stopped. Toru Watanabe took the opportunity to open the door and hid in room 502. Toru Watanabe. You dare to lie to me. Don't come to dinner if you dare. During dinner, Toru Watanabe hid behind Aona Koizumi and relied on master level, kickboxing, and elite level, dodging, to make Huang Zi pant. The next day, the academic test. On the third day, Kaoru Hayami came again. If you still want me to be the head of the department, I'll see you in the morning. Please leave. No, this time I hope that Rin Kiyono can be the same as last time, to be the advisor and conductor of the blowing club. I've already completed the project of leading a worthless club to win the highest professional award. I won't do it a second time. Pay attention to your words, Miss Kiyono. Toru Watanabe reminded her in a soft voice. Of course, he didn't want Rin Kiyono to speak the truth. He wouldn't do such a thing. Pay attention to your words, Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono glared at him with dissatisfaction. The blowing club isn't completely worthless, right? There are also hard-working members and good members. Toru Watanabe said. Oh. Rin Kiyono flicked her long hair. The outcome of the argument was clear. Then I'd like to ask Watanabe-san, with just a few hard-working members and good members, can they enter the national competition? No. Can they enter the Tokyo University competition? If it's me, and I play an excellent oboe solo, you want to go to the blowing club? Rin Kiyono revealed her signature gentle smile. No, I'm not going. Toru Watanabe felt a chill run down his spine. Rin Kiyono's gentle smile turned into a victorious smile. The blowing club competition is a team competition, so it's natural to evaluate it from an overall perspective. If I say that it's completely worthless, do you have any objections, Watanabe-san? Whatever you say. After Kaori Hayami finished listening to their daily quarrel, she left the piano club. On the 4th day, she came again. On the 5th day, the 6th day, until the end of the January monthly exam, Kaoru Hayami came almost every day. On the 1st of February, at the Human Observation Department after school. Then I'll take my leave. Kaoru Hayami stood up. Wait. Toru Watanabe stopped him. Kaoru Hayami looked at him in confusion. Kiyono-san. Toru Watanabe put down his teacup. The blowing club is our subordinate department. If we don't help you when you're in trouble, it'll damage the dignity of the Human Observation Department. Subordinate department. The head of the blowing club, Kaoru Hayami, had a confused expression. Rin Kiyono was used to Toru Watanabe's nonsense, so her expression didn't change at all. What are you trying to say? She asked. Senpai Hayami has been here so many times. You must have a reason for doing this. Even if you don't want to go, you can at least give me some advice, right? Toru Watanabe tried to persuade her. Rin Kiyono sighed, closed her hardcover book, and said to Kaoru Hayami, If you just want to give me some advice, I can help you think of a way. That's enough. I'm already very satisfied. Thank you so much, Kiyono-san. Kaoru Hayami was so emotional that he was about to cry. Shouldn't you be thanking me? Toru Watanabe pointed at himself. I'm the one who changed the unreasonable Kiyono-san's mind. Yeah. Kaoru Hayami nodded vigorously. If I knew this would happen, I would have asked Kun Watanabe for help from the beginning. Senpai Hayami, do you think that if you didn't insist on coming to the Human Observation Department every day and Watanabe-san persuaded me, I would have agreed? You wouldn't have? Toru Watanabe asked. Chinyi Rin opened her mouth, but no words came out of it. She was speechless. The Human Observation Department fell into a restless silence. The two of them stared at her. Aha! Rin Kiyono clenched her fist, placed it on her lower lip, and cleared her throat. After doing all this, she avoided Toru Watanabe's gaze and turned to Kaoru Hayami. I can't make any suggestions without understanding the situation. Senpai Hayami, please tell me what's troubling you. It's like this. Kaoru Hayami was also attracted by Rin Kiyono's cuteness. Recently, exams. Toru Watanabe kept recalling the scene just now as he listened to Kaoru Hayami. Even if I don't lie, I can still be cute. Honesty is the best. He clenched his fist in his heart. By the way, let's talk about the insignificant problem of the playing department, compared to Rin Kiyono's cuteness. Some of the second-year students often took leave to deal with exams, resulting in them not being able to play together. When they could play together, their standards dropped a lot. This made the first-year students who worked hard every day very dissatisfied. After all, everyone had set the national goal of gold together. The first-year students went to the head, Kaoru Hayami, hoping that she could talk to the second-year students. The second-year students also wanted to train hard, but they were about to be promoted to the third year, so they couldn't give up on their homework. They promised that when the next semester started, they would participate in training every day. Kaoru Hayami relayed this answer to the first-year students. The first-year students also said that the third-year students reviewed their homework together after training last year, and the results were very good. They could still train, so why not continue? Kaoru Hayami went to look for the second-year students again. At first, the second-year students were vague, only saying that the third-year students would definitely participate in training every day. Of course, the first-year students were dissatisfied with this answer and sent Kaoru Hayami to ask. The second-year students were also dissatisfied. There was still a long time before the blowing competition, and the new first-year students hadn't even come yet. Was there a need to work so hard? Besides, it wasn't like they didn't train. The first-year students insisted on having high-intensity training every day. They felt that without Rin Kiyono's brilliant guidance and Toru Watanabe's unparalleled solo, with their current strength, they wouldn't be able to get the national gold. Both sides made sense. Kaoru Hayami really had no choice but to look for Rin Kiyono every day. At the same time, she also used Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe's daily bickering as a way to relieve her pressure. "Do you have any ideas?" After explaining the situation, Kaoru Hayami asked. "I'm curious." Rin Kiyono stroked her chin. "Why aren't the second-year students willing to use last year's method?" Kaoru Hayami looked hesitant. "Senior, this is a very important question." Rin Kiyono looked at her with an inexplicable sense of pressure. "Okay." Kaoru Hayami sighed and said with a bitter smile, "The second-year girls don't have a good relationship. If one of them studies a little more, the other will. In short, everyone is secretly studying hard, trying to surpass the other." Rin Kiyono looked surprised, then sighed. "How boring." There are indeed people with such thoughts. Toru Watanabe could understand. Then, Kaoru Hayami looked at the two of them expectantly. "Good morning, Senior," Toru Watanabe said. I'm listening. Let's leave." Kaoru Hayami was stunned. Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at Toru Watanabe. "That's only the final solution." "Wait a minute, Kaoru Hayami stretched out his hand to the two of them. "Good morning, Senior." Rin Kiyono looked at him. "I suggest that the blow section's goal change from national gold to entering the national competition." "I see." Toru Watanabe applauded. "Then we can achieve balance." "No way." Kaoru Hayami was always good-tempered, but he was bullied by the two of them. Chapter 222. Neither withdrawing from the department nor lowering their goal worked, so they had to seriously think of a way. The Human Observation Department fell into silence. "Good morning, Senpai." Rin Kiyono was the first to speak. "Kiyono-san, have you thought of a way?" Kaoru Hayami looked at her expectantly. "I can tell you my experience in managing the music department, and you can try to do it. How about that?" Kaoru Hayami pondered for a moment. "I'm afraid it won't work." "Why?" "I'm not as good as Kiyono-san in music, and I might not even be the best in the second year. It'll be difficult for everyone to obey me." "What about the authority of the department head?" Toru Watanabe was curious. "Shouldn't it be like the Human Observation Department, where the department head has the most authority? Are you dissatisfied with something, Toru Watanabe-san?" "No." After dealing with his department head, Toru Watanabe said to Kaoru Hayami, "That's the gist of it." "See?" Rin Kiyono was even more dissatisfied, but she couldn't refute what just happened. Kaoru Hayami couldn't help but chuckle, and then he helplessly said, "Maybe it was possible before, but after Kiyono-san, the music department has already been ruled by strength. It's mainly because you're not strong enough as the department head." Rin Kiyono didn't care how hurtful her words were. She muttered to herself and continued to think of a way for Kaoru Hayami. "I'm sorry." Toru Watanabe apologized to Kaoru Hayami on her behalf. "It's fine. Kiyono-san is absolutely right." Kaoru Hayami had seen Rin Kiyono's poisonous tongue before. "Besides, even if I'm strong enough, my personality is too weak. I can't force everyone to obey me. Being gentle isn't a bad thing." Toru Watanabe comforted her. He thought for a moment, then said, "I have an idea." Rin Kiyono looked up and said, "Tell me about it." "First of all, let's agree on one thing. If it was Kiyono's style, would she be able to change the current situation of the wind instrument department?" "Okay." Kaoru Hayami nodded. "Then, let's find someone who can replace Kiyono. Isn't that enough? Watanabe-san." Rin Kiyono crossed her arms and straightened her beautiful swan-like neck. No one can replace me. I'm the most special, above everything else. Using other people's words to praise herself? How could there be such a narcissistic person? It was hopeless. I also think that no one can replace Kiyono classmate. Kaoru Hayami nodded in agreement. Do you want to join the church? Toru Watanabe could not help but ask. Join? Kaoru Hayami looked at him in confusion. Nothing. Toru Watanabe skipped over this private topic. Of course, no one in this world can replace Kiyono classmate. I know this very well. Then, Kun Watanabe's idea. We can create an artificial intelligence and input Kiyono classmates will into it. Rin Kiyono gave him a warning look. Aha. Toru Watanabe cleared his throat. What I mean is that the wind instrument department can set the rules of the society. Rules of the society? Kaoru Hayami asked reflexively. It's indeed a feasible idea. Rin Kiyono nodded in agreement. Kaoru Hayami looked at her again. I can see that you're not strong enough, and your personality is too gentle. Then we can set strict rules. Everything in the wind instrument department will be run according to the rules, Rin Kiyono explained. So that's how it is. Kaoru Hayami gently clasped his hands and said excitedly, I've been thinking about how to ease the relationship between the first and second years, but I didn't expect to solve the problem from the root. Before we set the rules, there's one last question. Do we favor the first years or the second years? Toru Watanabe said. He and Rin Kiyono looked at Kaoru Hayami. Any suggestion could be made, but whether it was accepted or not, and to what extent, it was the wind instrument department's own business. Faced with this question, Kaoru Hayami's gentle, or to put it bluntly, a nice guy, personality made her hesitate again. Senior. Toru Watanabe tapped the table lightly. Our goal is to win the national gold medal. I know, but... Kaoru Hayami grasped the hem of his pleated skirt. Are you worried that the rules are too harsh and the second years will withdraw? Rin Kiyono asked. Kaoru Hayami didn't say anything and just nodded. These people are really confident. They think that they can get the national gold medal if they work hard next year? Rin Kiyono laughed contemptuously. It's one thing to be good at studying, but they actually think that they're equally talented in music. Toru Watanabe noticed that Kaoru Hayami's face was slightly red. It seemed that this senior also had the same idea. However, it's not like I can't understand. Rin Kiyono's tone returned to normal. People with good grades tend to be blindly confident in fields they haven't touched before. I've already observed this from that man. Toru Watanabe pointed at himself in confusion. Rin Kiyono nodded, confirming his doubts. After dealing with Toru Watanabe, she continued. Senior Hayami, you're the head of the wind instrument department, so it's up to you to decide. All I can do is tell you my thoughts. Thank you. Please speak. Last year, even I was only able to lead you guys to the national gold medal because of Watanabe-san's help. If it wasn't for Watanabe-san, even if a miracle happened, with Kamikawa Yukabu's standard, we would only get silver at most. After saying this, Rin Kiyono didn't say anything else, giving Kaoru Hayami time to think. Kaoru Hayami didn't hesitate. She loosened the wrinkled pleated skirt, looked at the two, and said in a transparent voice, The goal of the wind instrument department is to get the national gold medal. Rin Kiyono smiled. Then, let's start discussing the rules. The rules were set by Rin Kiyono and Kaoru Hayami. Toru Watanabe continued to read his book. The day after tomorrow will be the beginning of spring, but the north wind outside the window is still cold. Maybe it's the contrast between the whistling of the cold wind outside and the humming of the indoor heater. Listening to Rin Kiyono's lowered voice, Toru Watanabe felt warm. The two finished their discussion when the club activities were over. Toru Watanabe took the paper full of writing. 1. All members, including the B department, must participate in the training from Monday to Friday. 2. Starting from April, everyone, including the B department, must participate in the training on Saturday and Sunday. 3. Before the end of the club activities, you must greet the chief of your own department. 4. Junior students must greet senior students and must bow 45 degrees when they see them. 5. The small bucket used to hold the water inside the instrument must be cleaned after use. A series of must. It seems that a lot of Rin Kiyono's will has been injected into it. In addition to the training, there are many daily etiquette. Toru Watanabe can't understand this, but for the Japanese, it's normal. He didn't raise any objection. After all, this is Japan. Most importantly, it has nothing to do with him. After this system is implemented, I'm afraid that Hayami Senpai will be blamed. Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and said, "It's rare to see you care about others. Could it be that you are unexpectedly a gentle person? Did I misunderstand you before?" Only Toru Watanabe dares to say this. So, Rin Kiyono said, "Hayami Senpai, you can directly tell everyone that the idea of making the rules was proposed by Watanabe classmate." This. Kaoru Hayami looked at Toru Watanabe. Why? Toru Watanabe's voice was slightly louder than the north wind outside the window. It expressed his emotions, but not to the extent that it was harsh to the ear. "I don't intend to shelter others from the wind and rain." "Then let's talk about me. After all, most of the rules are set by me," Rin Kiyono said indifferently. "Forget it, let's talk about me." North Wind's voice covered Toru Watanabe's. Rin Kiyono's expression didn't change. She didn't feel touched at all. She said calmly to Kaoru Hayami, "Then let's talk about the two of us." "Thank you very much." Kaoru Hayami used honorifics. "Please don't worry, I will say that I took the initiative to ask the two of you for help. Don't mention it. I only did this because I thought that even if there is a rule, it's just a rule set by Hayami Senpai. They won't follow it honestly." Yes, that's true. Kaoru Hayami had to admit it. Was Rin Kiyono gentle or not? When Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono walked out of the school dormitory, it was already past the usual end of the school day. On the field, the baseball club, which had vowed that if they didn't enter the Koshien finals this year, they would give seats to all the teachers and students of the school, was still practicing hard. The baseball club only recruited famous middle school baseball players. Even so, they're still practicing hard, Toru Watanabe said. Rin Kiyono knew that he was mocking the blowing club, which didn't practice hard but still wanted to win the national gold medal. The blowing club won the national gold medal last year. This year, there should be some good new students entering the school, she said. After returning from Kanazawa village, Rin Kiyono was not as afraid of the cold as before. She could even speak a few words in the cold wind. Osamu Kanai deliberately threw a baseball in their direction. It rolled to Toru Watanabe's feet. He bent down to pick it up. "When the time comes, there will be a lot of boys who admire you entering the school." Toru Watanabe threw the baseball at high speed. "Ah, you're jealous? What's there to be jealous about between friends?" Rin Kiyono's light cherry lips were hidden in her scarf. "There are probably more girls who admire your oboe." In the distance, Osamu Kanai chased after the baseball flying in the sky, running with all his might. February 2nd, Sleet the monorail was swaying. The carriage was silent, and the passengers all shrunk their heads. Small drops of water slowly slid down the glass window. The silent atmosphere lasted until Toru Watanabe walked into the classroom. The classroom was heated, and the atmosphere was warm. Osamu Kanai, Keisuke Saito, and Kazumi Ikeda were chatting together. Kuin Watanabe, "Good morning." Kazumi Ikeda, who was facing the back door, was the first to see Toru Watanabe. "Good morning." Toru Watanabe sat down in his seat. "What are you talking about?" The heater behind him blew his hair up slightly. "Watanabe." Osamu Kanai patted Toru Watanabe on the shoulder. "When it comes to February, what do you think of?" "Final exam." "Guess again." The Dutch East India Company's Taiwanese officer, Kaichi, signed the surrender letter and officially surrendered to Zheng Chunggong's army? The boy was speechless. Kun Watanabe, you're too funny, the girl laughed. Let me give you a hint. Keisuke Saito's expression was serious. Sweet. Sweet. Yes, yes. Kazumi Ikeda nodded. Ah, I know. Toru Watanabe suddenly understood. February is a good time to eat sugarcane. You're so annoying, Kun Watanabe, it's chocolate. Kazumi Ikeda smiled and pretended to hit Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe naturally dodged, not allowing physical contact, and said, By the way, people with weak spleen and stomach should not eat it. Enough. It's Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. Osamu Kunai said loudly. Watanabe doesn't take Valentine's Day seriously, it's natural. Keisuke Saito began to feel sorry for himself. He certainly has no problem, our situation is not good. Kazumi, will you give us chocolate? Osamu Kunai begged. If it's chocolate, Kazumi Ikeda readily said. Thank you, Kazumi-sama. The two simultaneously bowed 90 degrees. We will properly return the favor. You're too exaggerated. Kazumi Ikeda covered her mouth and was amused by them. She deliberately stretched her winter school uniform sweater to cover more than half of her hand. This is the cute sleeve. By the way, if it's handmade chocolate, we will. Go away. Kazumi Ikeda bluntly rejected. Keisuke Saito looked at Toru Watanabe. Watanabe, will Kujo classmate give you chocolate? Kujo classmate doesn't look like the kind of person who would do that kind of thing. Osamu Kunai speculated. Even if Kujo classmate doesn't give you chocolate, Kun Watanabe will receive a lot of chocolate. Kazumi Ikeda smiled and said, I heard that many girls are preparing to give you handmade scarves and sweaters. Scarves and sweaters? Spare me, my Kei-san will kill me. I only dare to accept chocolate. Toru Watanabe helplessly said. What about Kiyono classmate's chocolate? Kazumi Ikeda mischievously asked. Don't joke about her. Toru Watanabe's tone didn't change, but it made people's hearts sink. Everyone tactfully stopped talking about Rin Kiyono. How many chocolates do you think Watanabe will receive? Keisuke Saito said. If he doesn't accept the chocolate, 30, no, 40. Kazumi Ikeda said confidently. 40? Just the return gift alone would cost 100,000 yen, right? Osamu Kunai couldn't believe it. Not only them, but Class 4 and even the whole of Kamigawa, no, other high schools were also likely to welcome the season of restlessness. After school, on the corridor to the club building, from time to time, he could hear passing girls talking about Valentine's Day. Walking in the corridor wet with sleet, Toru Watanabe heard Aoi Ichiki's bass horn and thought of Mayasahi. Speaking of which, from today onwards, third graders didn't have to come to school to prepare for the private university exam. At this time of year, spring break, Mayasahi would move to Shinano, not far away. Today's Human Observation Department. Rin Kiyono was reading a book. Miki Kujo was lying on the sofa with her feet up, listening to music and playing with her phone. Toru Watanabe pulled down Miki Kujo's skirt to cover her overly revealing pantyhose. Miki, why are you here today? He sat down in his seat. I'm taking a day off. Miki Kujo answered. Taking a day off to come to school? Rich people really have it hard. In the blink of an eye, it's already February. Toru Watanabe paused for a moment. Speaking of February, what do you think of? Bohemian, premiered in Italy. Rin Kiyono continued to look at the hardcover book in her hand. Bohemian what? Forget it. Miki, what about you? February? Real estate is off-season. This was even more ridiculous than the Dutch East India Company surrendered to Zheng Chenggong. It was a famous historical event. Could it be that this year's Valentine's Day, he wouldn't receive any chocolates from these two? Toru Watanabe's originally restless heart was cooled down by the sleet. Chapter 223. The next day, which was February 3rd, was a sunny day after the rain. In the morning at the shoe cabinet, Rin Kiyono told Toru Watanabe to go to the playing club with her at noon. After the morning class ended, Toru Watanabe followed her to the subordinate department for inspection. "What's the specific matter?" he asked. "It's about the regulations," Rin Kiyono answered simply. Toru Watanabe didn't ask any more questions. He wasn't interested in these things, and he would know when the time came. In the corridor, the students passing by saw the two of them walking together and cast curious, gossipy gazes. The two of them could become popular figures on campus just by their looks, not to mention endless anecdotes. The reason why it wasn't obvious usually was because Rin Kiyono never chatted with her classmates. Even if they worked together in the playing club, no one could become her friend. And Toru Watanabe only played with the boys in the class. The others couldn't tell that he had plans to be friends with others. The two of them turned a blind eye to all kinds of gazes. When they reached the third floor of the club building, they didn't hear the sound of music training. As they approached the music room, they gradually heard a fierce argument. Because of the soundproof door, the sound seemed distant. "We've already said it. We've said it several times. We'll train hard in the new semester. Classmate Shijio, when we set the goal, you second years also agreed to set it as the national goal." Classmate Liang, "So what if we did? Do you think we're first years? Next year we're going to enter a higher school. Not everyone will go to YN University." Classmate Fan Mei, "What does this have to do with going to YN University? Didn't everyone train and study together last year? Why not today? I say, aren't you first years too arrogant?" "So what?" At the door, Toru Watanabe smiled and said to Rin Kiyono, "Do you think they'll fight?" "I bet they will, a week of club hygiene." Rin Kiyono first glared at him, who was gloating, and then said, "No." The two of them continued to listen to the sounds inside. "Everyone, stop arguing." Even though Kaoru Hayami spoke loudly, there was a hint of gentleness in his voice. "Come to think of it, why did you let an outsider interfere with the matters of our wind instrument department? Kiyono classmate isn't an outsider." "Huh." Back then, no matter how we tried to persuade them to stay, they still decided to leave. "What right do they have to interfere now? You even made rules that we have to follow?" "Student Kiyono is doing this for the good of the wind ensemble," a first-year student said. "For the sake of the flute section? What can she do about it? You're not allowed to talk about Kiyono like that." It was Aoi Ichiki's voice. "That's right. Kiyono has led us to the national gold medal, so I believe in her." Yoshimi Tamamo also spoke up. Leader, have we not worked hard? You listen to her so much, but it's a pity that she looks down on you." There was the sound of tables and chairs rubbing against the floor. Toru Watanabe put his hands in his pockets, leaned to the right, and leaned close to Rin Kiyono's ear. So-and-so classmate is going to lose." Rin Kiyono didn't say anything, but pushed open the heavy door of the music classroom. Hey, you can't be like this." Toru Watanabe reprimanded her in a soft and hurried voice. The door opened, and the music classroom quieted down. After the third-year students left the wind ensemble, the remaining 60 or so students were all present. Most of them were huddled in the corner of the classroom, while 7 or 8 people were arguing in the middle. Some chairs had fallen to the ground. Kaoru Hayami had an uneasy expression. Everyone looked over. "Kiyono classmate." Kaoru Hayami walked over as if he had seen the real head of the wind ensemble. He let out a long sigh. The first-year students also gathered around, their expressions relaxed. However, the more they respected Rin Kiyono, the more the second-year students were dissatisfied. "What are you doing in the wind ensemble?" a second-year girl surnamed Imai questioned. "Let me make one thing clear. Rin Kiyono didn't take that person seriously at all. I'm not looking down on the first year." "That's right." The first-year students looked angrily at the second-year students. I'm looking down on all of you. Ha ha ha. The second-year students looked at the stunned first-year students and laughed mercilessly. That, Toru Watanabe raised his hand. Miss Kiyono? I'm talking about all of them. Please continue. Rin Kiyono looked at the second-year students. Are you done laughing? Her voice was as cold as ice, causing the laughter to abruptly stop. If you're done laughing, then let's start training. Her tone was calm, as if nothing had happened. The girl surnamed Imai came back to her senses and said sternly, "Why should we listen to you? From today onwards, I'll be the consultant of the wind ensemble again. Do you have any objections, Prince Imai?" Calling the upperclassman classmate was a habit that Rin Kiyono had adopted last year when she was in charge of the wind ensemble. "Kiyono classmate, is what you said true?" Kaoru Hayami said excitedly. "That's great." Yoshimi Tamamo cheered. "This year, we'll definitely win the national double gold medal." The first-year students who had been looked down on all cheered. Not only them, but even the surrounding members of the wind ensemble also revealed happy smiles and whispered to each other. They were full of hope for the future. "What are you all still doing here? You won't even be able to enter the national competition." Rin Kiyono's face was cold as she mercilessly dampened the enthusiasm of the first-year students. "We'll work hard. We won't let you down again, Kiyono classmate," the first-year students said loudly. It seemed that they had already imagined the reason why Rin Kiyono looked down on them. Rin Kiyono hated people who didn't work hard. Last year, the wind ensemble had arbitrarily concluded this impression. Amidst the cheers, Prince Imai was still standing there. Rin Kiyono's gaze turned to her. "Prince Imai, have your horn handling skills improved? Have you made it so that the sound doesn't stop?" There will be outstanding newcomers entering the wind ensemble in the new semester. I'll choose the members of Team A according to their strength. Rin Kiyono's tone was light, but it was cold and piercing. A girl behind Kaz Imai tugged at her sleeve. Prince Imai found a way out. Even though she had admitted defeat, she stubbornly looked at Rin Kiyono and followed that person to practice. After the matter was settled, Kaoru Hayami was completely relieved. "Kiyono classmate, thank you so much." She bowed to Rin Kiyono. "No need to thank me." Rin Kiyono crossed her arms. "I'm not helping you, nor am I helping the wind ensemble. Watanabe classmate asked me to help, and since I agreed to help, I'll naturally take responsibility until the end. Do you think that by saying that, I'll forget about cheating just now?" Toru Watanabe said. "Did I say that I can't cheat?" Rin Kiyono smiled slightly proud. "I thought you were a beautiful girl who abided by the rules." "Indeed, I am a beautiful girl." Rin Kiyono nodded in agreement. What else could Toru Watanabe say? "Watanabe classmate, will you return to the wind ensemble as well?" Kaoru Hayami asked after the two finished their conversation. Toru Watanabe sighed. "Since Kiyono classmate is coming, then don't worry about me, be yourself." Rin Kiyono interrupted Toru Watanabe's decision, looking at him faintly. If that's the case, then I'll pass." Toru Watanabe waved his hand disinterestedly. "Playing is really boring." Rin Kiyono glared fiercely at Toru Watanabe. What's wrong?" Toru Watanabe was puzzled. "Nothing." Rin Kiyono's tone was cold. She did support Toru Watanabe's decisions, but as soon as she said that, this man immediately left her alone in the wind ensemble. She took on these troublesome matters because of him. What a fickle man. In this way, Miss Kiyono once again took over Kamigawa's most populated club. And Toru Watanabe had to clean the activity room for a week. As time passed, February 14th was getting closer and closer, and the atmosphere in the school became more and more restless. February 11th. Friday. "Teacher, you seem to be very busy recently?" "Yes, at the end of the semester, there are various things to do, and I have to prepare for exams and interviews." Exams and interviews? Kamigawa's entrance exam. Toru Watanabe carried a thick stack of teaching materials, and Aona Koizumi's hands were almost full. Today is Friday. Do you want to go to the movies tonight? Seeing the two enter the office, Huang Zi happily said. Sure, dinner is just in time, let's go out for dinner. Aona Koizumi put the teaching materials on the table. What should we eat? Huang Zi spun around in her chair, took out her phone, and prepared to book a restaurant. Watanabe, is there anything you want to eat? Aona Koizumi looked at him. I'm not going. Toru Watanabe said, I want to find Mickey today. Aona Koizumi nodded. Are you coming back tonight? Do you want us to bring some food back? Well, I don't think so. Bad interaction, write me a 5-page reflection. Huang Zi said with a straight face. Wait until you become my class teacher. Goodbye. Aonai, look at how arrogant your student is. Why don't you teach him a lesson? You also know that Watanabe is my student. Even you are bullying me? Hoo, I'll cry for you to see. Huang Zi, the English teacher who was not in the classroom, was like this. Toru Watanabe returned to the classroom, took his bag, and went to participate in the club activities. He opened the classroom door. Inside the club's classroom that was filled with the quietness of winter, Seino Rin was like an exquisite doll. She sat in her usual seat, looked up from the hardcover book in her hand, gently lifted her long hair, and revealed a soft smile. Good afternoon, Watanabe classmate. Good afternoon. It was a simple conversation, an ordinary scene, but Toru Watanabe experienced the beauty of life. Every day when he walked to school, as long as he thought that Rin Kiyono would be waiting for him here after school, his whole body would be filled with an indescribable feeling of happiness. Spring is coming. When he sat down, he sighed without rhyme or reason. Watanabe classmate, do you like spring? Rin Kiyono asked. I don't particularly like it, I just want to talk about it. Toru Watanabe paused for a moment. Kiyono classmate, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, which do you like? First of all, I dislike winter. I understand. Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and muttered, It's not a specific season, I like the period when the rain is over, but summer hasn't officially begun. Hydrangeas blooming? Roses blooming. You like roses? No, I just want to talk about it. Toru Watanabe spread his hands. Miss Kiyono, copyright fee, 100 yuan. If this counts as plagiarism, then to date, Mr. Watanabe, please calculate how much money you owe me. Rin Kiyono said mockingly. End. Toru Watanabe took out Long Journey into Night. Today was another day when Toru Watanabe was defeated. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking interrupted the narration. Please come in. Rin Kiyono's voice was cold, with a sense of distance. Speaking of which, ever since I joined the club, I don't think I've ever knocked on the door. Let's try it next time. Toru Watanabe would never admit that he just wanted to hear Rin Kiyono's cold voice. When the time came, the two of them would definitely use the topic of knocking on the door as a topic for a new round of debate, right? While Toru Watanabe was writing a draft for the debate that he didn't know would happen, the person who knocked on the door walked in. Sorry to disturb you. Aoi Ichiki, Asako Hanada, and Yoshimi Tamamo walked in. Please sit. Rin Kiyono stood up and poured tea for them. When the three of them sat down, Toru Watanabe looked at Asako Hanada, whose feet couldn't touch the ground and whose hands were holding the teacup like a child. He remembered that there was still a task for him. But that didn't matter. Don't you have to practice today? He asked Aoi Ichiki. Kiyono-san gave the band a break today. Aoi Ichiki said in a relaxed tone. During this period of Kiyono-style training, the band had suffered greatly. In fact, Rin Kiyono rarely went to the band. She would only go once every few days and let everyone play for her in front of everyone. Then, she would point out the problems. Her hearing was excellent. As long as the problems weren't improved, even if they weren't completely solved, she would know whether or not to continue with the next step and let them practice again and again. If they didn't improve once or twice and didn't receive any new pointers, everyone would know whether or not they were slacking off. Why did you come to the Human Observation Department? Rin Kiyono put down the kettle and returned to her seat. She used her hand to adjust the hem of her pleated skirt. Obviously, everyone had the same style, but only her skirt always reminded Toru Watanabe of the beautiful atrium in May. It's about Valentine's Day, Yoshimi Tamamo said impatiently. Valentine's Day? Rin Kiyono was slightly confused. Didn't you say that Kiyono-san was going to give Kun Watanabe chocolates? Aoi Ichiki was also confused. Rin Kiyono placed her hand on her forehead, lowered her head, and let out a long sigh. Who did you hear that from? Toru Watanabe stared at Aoi Ichiki. Asako Hanada, who was leisurely swinging her legs, was shocked by his attitude and quickly closed her legs. Aoi Ichiki didn't react and said, then looked at Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono. Everyone is talking about it. Who's everyone? That. Why are you being so fierce? Yoshimi Tamamo was dissatisfied with Toru Watanabe's interrogative tone. Sorry. Toru Watanabe realized that he was in the wrong. It's okay, Aoi Ichiki didn't care. She boasted that she and Toru Watanabe were women who had discussed it before, so they were very close. Then, who's everyone? Rin Kiyono asked. Although she was polite, her tone was colder than Toru Watanabe's, but he didn't dare to refute her. Students in class or in the club. Anyway, everyone is talking about it. Aoi Ichiki replied. Number 3 went to the trumpet club. Is that why we're together? Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono rubbed her chin and thought for a while, then said, I'm afraid that's not the only reason. She then raised her head. Forget it, it doesn't matter what other people say. Classmate Itsuki, why are you here? Aoi Ichiki hesitated for a moment, then replied, Isn't next Monday the 14th Valentine's Day? We were thinking that if Kiyono classmate also wanted to give us chocolates, we could go to the mall tonight to buy ingredients, and then we could make handmade chocolates together on Saturday and Sunday. Not only am I going to give Watanabe classmate chocolate, but I'm also going to give you handmade chocolates. Rin Kiyono's smile was slightly sinister. I'll give you a proper gift in return, Toru Watanabe said. Shut up. Yes. Then. Aoi Ichiki peeked at Rin Kiyono's expression. Kiyono classmate, are you going? Even if we don't buy chocolates, we can go see a movie. Yoshimi Tamamo leaned forward slightly. It's at the theater in Shinjuku. It's rare that we have a break, so let's go out and have fun, Aoi Ichiki said. I'm also going to invite Minato. Kiyono classmate. Asako Hanada also stared at Rin Kiyono. Thank you for inviting me, but I'll pass. Rin Kiyono shook her head and refused. Aoi Ichiki wailed in frustration. Then she asked Toru Watanabe, Kun Watanabe, are you going? Nope. Okay. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.